Hello and welcome to Flushing Meadows. We're back. It's back. Welcome to New York and welcome to the US Open, the final Grand Slam of the year and the final tournament in the illustrious career of Serena Williams. Now, the 23-time Grand Slam champion, she headlines tonight's night session on what is a stellar first day of action that sees four Brits in singles action together with world number one Dan Mervyn. Actually, there's a whole host of players across the courts here at Flushing Meadows, and our job is to keep you across as much as we possibly can. A little bit later on 5 Live, we'll have an hour of tennis from 9 till 10 o'clock this evening. Lots of tennis chat with Kim Clijsters. From around midnight, half midnight, we're going to have it all. Serena Williams against Danka Kovinic. Will it be her final singles match? And starting very shortly, we're going to have Francisco Cerundolo against Andy Murray. That's going to be your first commentary of the day. We'll keep you up to date with all the other scores. You'll be hearing from lots and lots of voices. My name is Gigi Sam, and I'm delighted to say I'm alongside tennis correspondent Russell Fuller. And Russell, the weather is set fair, the fans are coming in, the players are warming up, and we start with a bang.
We start with potentially one of the most exciting and emotional days that we've ever witnessed in tennis, because this could be it. Yes, Serena Williams will play doubles with her sister Venus at this US Open, but in terms of singles play, after a quarter of a century, tonight in the night session could be the end of the story. We're expecting some very famous people, some very powerful people, and many of Williams' family and friends to watch her match against Danka Kovinic. First match of the night session, it'll be on 5 Live from midnight or shortly thereafter. Serena Williams says this whole retirement thing is causing her a huge amount of pain. She hates the concept, but she's having to come to terms with it because she wants to have another baby, and also she's nearly 41 years of age, and realistically you cannot be competitive with the best players in the world at all the slams at that sort of age. But it's a very, very tough night for her. Will she be able to extend that singles career by at least one other match? That will be answered in the wee small hours of the morning UK time.
As we know, things do get tougher with age, so that's what's come a little bit later. We'll be building up to it throughout the day. I'll have updates and everything going on 5 Live, but we're starting commentary-wise, Russell, with, I was going to call him a young man. Is he still young? I don't know. Andy,
as you know, everything is relative.
It is, isn't it? Okay, for me, he's a young man, but he's having a few body issues that he can't seem to get to the bottom of.
Yes, Andy Murray has been definitely hindered by cramping in recent weeks, ever since Wimbledon really. He keeps saying, my tennis could be a bit better, but my body is in amazing shape. He can't believe what good shape he's in given the 2 hip operations. But cramping, not just in matches but in practice as well, has really been undermining his preparations, his chance of getting a few wins under his belt, and he just doesn't know what the cause is. He had some sweat testing done last week, nothing conclusive. He was running through the different theories, and it might be that you're not hydrated properly, you're not eating the right things, you may not be fit enough, you may have an underlying medical condition. He doesn't think any of those things apply. Maybe you're right. Maybe the least scientific theory of all, it's just old age, is the one.
Well, strange things happen to our bodies as we get older. I'm going to bring in Russell. Thank you very much, Russell. We're juggling lots of balls and lots of people. There are updates, and you'll be hearing Russell on 5 Live. But maybe someone who's going to give us a sensible answer to my, well, maybe he's just getting on a bit, is alongside me. I'm delighted to say that joining us throughout the course of this tournament, Naomi Brodie. How are you?
Hello, I'm so well, thank you. I'm so excited to be here, albeit a little bit emotional because I am Serena Williams' #1 fan, and I'm just not ready for her to retire.
But it's not like it's a surprise.
I mean, I know she's been playing for 3 decades, however long she's been on the tour for.
The signs were kind of there. It was winding down.
Not ready to say goodbye.
Well, it might not be tonight, and even if it is tonight, the singles court, we've still got doubles with Venus to come.
We do. So we're going to see her at least for a few more days. But I'm just gutted that she's going. But as you say, we are here to watch Andy Murray kick off first round, first match on the first day of US Open.
So talk to me about cramping. He's been through all the tests. He says that it's nothing. It's good news because it's not an illness. It's nothing serious. But at the same time, sometimes when you go for a test, you want them to find something because then you can pin it on something and say, right, well, this is the issue. I will deal with it.
Make it better. Yeah. So it'll definitely be frustrating for him. Typical of Andy, no stone left unturned that he's going to go and get that testing done to try and get to the bottom of it. And for years in his career, actually, I don't know if you remember, was it at Queen's? He had that full body cramp when he kind of went totally straight, his whole body, and then he just kind of toppled over like a fallen tree on court at Queen's on the grass court. Was he playing Nalbandian? I remember that really vividly.
Yes.
And after that, he kind of went on this big mission with his fitness, and he's genuinely one of the fittest players on tour. So as you say, you can kind of tick that box. That's not the problem. You'll notice throughout his career, he's kind of had these bottles on court. He's got markers along the bottles as to how much he should be drinking at change of ends. That's got salts and sugars in, stuff that's supposed to help combat that cramping. And the bad news for Andy is here at US Open, I think we often have the most retirements because of the weather. Really difficult conditions with the cramping, with the humidity. We can just see here today 68% humidity. It's a bit of cloud cover, about 28 degrees, not too hot, but it's the humidity that gets you here.
But the other thing that's strange is this is someone who has a place in Miami, has spent years. I mean, I hate Miami for the humidity. This is where he spent so much time, which makes it even more surprising. And that's why I just came down to the very basic thing. Look, we know as women, well, I more so than you, that as you get older, the body just starts doing weird things that you are not prepared for. And I'm just wondering, could it just be age?
It could be, and maybe stress as well. You know how you can see when he's on court now, his level's coming back, but he's still not happy where he's at, and he knows he's got it in him, and it's almost like this frustration that it's not yet coming out. And maybe it's just that added stress as well, that it's got on his body that it's causing it to come out in matches, because it's not necessarily in practice that he's struggling with it.
Yeah, it's true, isn't it? And it's also true that stress can affect people in very different and unusual and strange ways. And in terms of ahead of this tournament, so they're just going to, Cerundolo and Murray are going to start the warm. Cerundolo is the 24th seed. He's a young man in really good form. This has really been his breakthrough year. We're going to have ball by ball commentary of this to come. Coco Gauff warming up down on, I have to get my eyes in focus because we're quite high up here in the Arthur Ashe Stadium. She is the current world number one in doubles. She's in a little meaty part of the draw. Is it too soon for Gauff here this year?
I don't know. She's my sort of. I think we were asked what are our fairy tale picks, and other than obviously Serena going out with
if you were
going
to call her a dark horse, I was going to shut you down right now.
No, but she'd be my fairy tale pick. I think. I think Russell mentioned it earlier. She's finalist of French Open. She knows what it takes to go that deep in the Grand Slams now. She's world number one in doubles. That will be giving her so much confidence on the singles court as well. And you just feel like it's a matter of time with her, whether she can do it this year. Who can't do it this year? You feel like it's been that way on the WTA Tour for a while now, and you see, maybe she'll take inspiration from Emma's run last year of, if she can do it, I can do it too. It's almost just a matter of doing it, isn't it? Of having the self-belief to get across the finish line.
It's very open, the women's. I feel it's even more open than it has been of late. Yes, you look at Iga Swiatek. She's the world number one. Lots of talk that she doesn't. Just quickly explain to people. Let's talk balls, because she's been very open and public, saying she doesn't like the balls that the women use, that are different than in Europe, and they are lighter, and she says they're not a fit for her. Yeah,
so my understanding is that they slowed the men's balls down. I think people, when they hear the women are playing with the lighter balls, I think they assume ours were made lighter because we're not as strong, maybe, I don't know, but it's not the case. It was the opposite. The men's balls were made slower to kind of prolong the rallies and make it a more entertaining sport, to stop that serve volley, points finished, ace, just to try and have those amazing rallies that we then went on to see with the Djokovic, Nadal, Federer generation, where you wonder how on earth they can catch their breath in 20 seconds and be ready for the next point. So the women's are still light, and they really do fly here at US Open. They're much, much lighter than the balls that we would play with, especially over the grass court season, where we play with the Slazenger balls. They're one of the heaviest balls throughout the year, and I think people don't always realise it's another variable in tennis. Not only are you changing the weather, the courts each and every day and each and every week, but the balls as well, that they really do differ. And as Coco rightly says, they completely fly here. So she's likely going to have maybe gone up with her string tension, try and get a bit more control from her racket that way. But it's also just a case of trying to get used to it.
Well, a lot of people say that Iga Swiatek might just be giving it this sort of, it's really difficult, because she's a big hitter. We've seen big hitters succeed here with these balls. Emma Raducanu, Leylah Fernandez last year, but she's really been quite public. But a lot of people say, well, she's number one, so she's got to be up there in terms of who's going to go through. But you've got one of my picks. I've got two picks. Let's call it a fairy tale pick. I picked two, so let's put Coco Gauff in my fairy tale pick. The other one I've got is Naomi Osaka. Now, early exits in both Canada and Cincinnati, but last time she did that, she went on to win the US Open. I still don't get the feeling that she loves the game. I still don't look at her and think this is someone who's loving being down and being out there. But she knows how to do it. She can do it. She loves these courts. She plays so well. She's got such an aggressive game. So why not? And she's unseeded floating around in the draw.
Yeah, and I think the experience matters so much at the Grand Slams, doesn't it? Because it's such a long tournament that you're here. You're here for the entirety of the 2 weeks. You have to stay mentally, emotionally, physically energized throughout that entire course. And she knows exactly how to do that, Naomi Osaka. So yeah, I think she'd definitely be a contender for the title, even though she's certainly not match fit as she'd maybe like to be coming into a Grand Slam.
I find tennis fascinating. It never sleeps. There's always stories. There's always something going on across both of these draws. There are 5 men that could leave here as the world #1.
Well, we're saying the women's draw is wide open. Look at the men's draw now. Now the top 3 are starting to trickle away. Are they starting to trickle away? Can we say that? Djokovic isn't here.
Have you accepted that they're trickling away? Because you haven't accepted Serena Williams is retiring. That's going to happen the next 2 weeks. So where are you with the retirement of the big 3? Are you okay?
Oh, no, I mean, it's just all we've known of our sport for so long, isn't it? But now they're not, Djokovic not being able to play another Grand Slam this year. Nadal, question marks again around his fitness, although we have to put those question marks in pencil because he had them heading into Australian Open and into Roland Garros, and he was totally
he's
fine
undergone
to
some
win the
quite
Grand Slams.
extreme treatment with these burning nerve endings in his foot, so he can't.
Yeah.
I mean, this is what he's going to be like in 10, 15 years' time. Who knows? But it's quite extreme lengths that he's going through.
It is, and I think as well with Andy with his hip, it comes down to quality of life, doesn't it? It's not only about can you get through a tennis match, it's about what sort of damage are you doing to your body for the rest of your life when you end up walking away from the sport. But the fact that those guys are maybe just opening the door now to some of the younger up and coming players and some of the other guys that have been floating around for a few years, it's making the men's side of the draw far more open as well, as we say, not just the women's side of the draw. I think it's tough for me this year to call. I think my fairy tale pick for the men's side of the draw is going to be Nick Kyrgios. I know. I just think with Nick this year from January, I don't know whether it was winning the Australian Open doubles title, but he just seems to have the bit between his teeth. Maybe it just gave him a bit of inspiration to want a Grand Slam title in singles as well.
We should say that Andy Murray is underway against Francisco Cerundolo's 24th seed. We're going to keep you across the spring commentary. It's the sort of first day gremlins that we like to sort of chase around, knock over. There's like whack-a-mole on day 1, isn't it? You've got to knock them down, but you can hear the applause in the background. We've got effects from Louis Armstrong Court. We've got Andy Murray, Francisco Cerundolo. We're going to have commentary of this. I think this Nick Kyrgios, we will pick this up. There's plenty more to talk about on that. There's a lot going on in the life of Nick Kyrgios. He said, I actually wish it was over and I wish I could go home. But there's a lot going on in the life of Nick Kyrgios. But our focus for this first morning in New York and the afternoon back home is Andy Murray's first round match. We're going to see how he gets on. Joining Naomi is going to be David Law, but firstly a little bit on what you're expecting from Murray here at the US Open. So many good memories for him here, but with the cramp and the other issues, he's played a lot of matches, but how do you see Murray coming into this?
It's interesting, isn't it? He's just 40-15 up here in the very first service game of the match. Andy's serving, looking to get an early hold. But I actually bumped into Yvonne Lendl, his coach, up in the Players Restaurant, which is just gold, isn't it, when you're about to come up into commentary. So that was nice, and it was nice to hear his sort of take. He was actually speaking to Leon Smith, so I was totally just earwigging because I was sat at the same table as them. But he was saying he's been much more aggressive behind his second serve, whether he's going to need that today or not. Cerundolo, of course, stands so far back behind that baseline. And also just saying how much better he looks at moving. Van Lendl saying he felt Andy looks like his younger self again on court, especially when he's moving out to his forehand side. He said he's been yelling at him that he has to hit that running forehand. He's not allowed to slice it and push it back into court and be happy for the guy to hit the winner. He said you've got to go for it and lose the point rather than allow the guy to win the point. So we'll keep our eyes peeled for those running forehands today.
Well, I'm absolutely delighted that you ran into Ivan Lendl because we've just been given chapter and verse about where he is in his whole career, and these are all questions I found myself wondering. You know, what's Lendl going to bring back to him? What does Lendl think of Andy Murray kind of 3.0, isn't it? Because this is his third stint with Murray now. I mean, let's not forget, it is 10 years ago that Murray, with Lendl in his corner, won the US Open. And honestly, I think if somebody had told us 10 years ago that he'd still be trying to play and succeed in this tournament in some way with a metal hip in 10 years' time, I don't think we really would have expected that to be the case. But here he is on court Louis Armstrong, which is the second major court here. It's been rebuilt in the last few years and it's got a roof available to it as well. And he's got a game point early on here as Murray up against Francisco Cerundolo of Argentina, one of two Cerundolos, and at the moment at least, this is the better one. This is the one who's ranked 24 in the world, and he's had a really, really good year. But Murray's got a game point at the start of this match. Already dripping with sweat is Andy Murray as he hits an inside-out forehand diagonally across the court. Then he nets that backhand, and already tugging at the blue and yellow and white shirt of his as it clings to his body with the sweat.
It's tough conditions here at US Open. I think I mentioned it earlier as well, that for me there are more retirements here in matches than any other Grand Slam. You often think Australia is being the hottest, but it's a different type of heat, isn't it? It's the humidity that gets you here at US Open, and if you're not walking on that court overhydrated, that you just can't catch up once you start sweating.
Yeah, that's a very good point, isn't it? I agree. I think that this looked brutal at times as Murray swipes at a forehand and it goes inside out from his left side of the court, and it goes diagonally and out, and we hear the out call from the Hawkeye Live here. There's no line judges required, which I still think is a bit of a shame, even though it's a good idea in so many ways. But it's an electronic decision that is made, and Murray's missed, and he's break point down in the first game of this match. Francisco Cerundolo, with his white baseball cap turned back to front, watches the Murray serve flip the top of the net and go out. Immediate pressure on the Andy Murray serve here. 5 Sports Extra, day one, match one of the US Open. And Andy Murray in the first game of it, already under pressure here. He swipes that forehand cross court. Now he crashes one down the centre and comes in behind it, plays a backhand volley, but he's put that out. He certainly went after the forehand, Naomi, as Ivan Lendl has told you he wants him to do. But he miscued that backhand volley, and he's already been broken.
A bit of a funny break in the end. When we came to this match, he just won the point to go 40-15 up in that game there, and he completely in control, but a few wayward unforced errors. As you say there, that final volley just going for maybe too much. As we look on in the crowd, it's about, would you say, half full?
Yeah, and there are 2 banks in this stadium. It's a pretty spectacular sight, and the upper banks are starting to fill up, and it's one of those, isn't it? Because I mean, it's pretty early in the morning, really, 11 o'clock, and it takes a while. People are coming in from Manhattan. We know from our own experience. It took me 45 minutes to get in this morning, and it's a long day of play. But I think anybody who does have a ticket for Louis Armstrong and suddenly realises the 2012 champion is on the court, feeling pretty good about life. So what about this young man he's facing, Francisco Cerundolo, who has certainly got a very good clay court game, and he reached a final in Båstad just a few weeks ago in Sweden, but he had this run to the semi-finals in Miami earlier this year on a hard court, and that certainly took me by surprise. I think we're guilty. I'm certainly guilty of pigeonholing a player and saying, right, he's a clay courter, but he's got more to him than just the single surface. As he hits his backhand down the line, it clips the top of the net, and the oohs and the ahs and the despair is because Andy Murray's lost the point, with a bit of fortune going the way of Cerundolo, the ball just dribbling over the net.
He's a bit up and down, Cerundolo, isn't he? It may be understandable, he's still so young. He's only 24 years old, so quite a big age gap between the 2 players. But as you say, I think predominantly he's a clay courter. That's where his best results come throughout the year. But of course, he's a very good tennis player, so he's still going to have some good results on hard.
And typically the surfaces have become a little more homogeneous, haven't they? So, you know, the guys who can play really well on clay tend to be able to play pretty well on the others as well, because they're not that different as Cerundolo nets a backhand, and it's 15-all in the second game.
And we were just speaking before about how the men play with the slower balls here, or the women with the lighter balls, whichever way you want to look at it. But
what do you think of that?
I think the women would prefer if they slowed their balls down as well. It's not that the women are given lighter balls because they can't hit them. You know, the men's US Open balls are just more similar to the Wimbledon balls, where the rest of the year we play with actually the same ones. I don't know why it is at US Open that we have
this is a pretty much a one-off, isn't it?
Yeah.
For men and women to be playing with different types of tennis balls.
And the men would not want to play with the women's balls, because in the way that Swiatek's saying they're really tough to play with because they're so hard to control, the men feel exactly the same. You just feel like as soon as you touch the ball, it's going to hit the back fence. You really have to get used to it and adjust your string tension.
Naomi Brodie here with us on 5 Sports Extra. We got a full team in New York, and it is really a pleasure to be able to say that, because much as we've enjoyed commentating the last couple of years, just having the opportunity to describe the tennis, we haven't been in New York. Russell has last year, but the rest of the team unable to come out here. But this year, here we are, and watching Andy Murray battling it out in the sweltering conditions. It's over 30 degrees today, around about 30 degrees, but it is that humidity that Naomi mentions that is so debilitating, and it will be very interesting to watch how Murray copes, given the last 6 weeks he has struggled with cramping, and it has not been a real problem for him throughout most of his career. I was looking back, and there was a match in the first round in 2014 against Robin Haase where he had real cramp problems and he couldn't explain it, but he adjusted a couple of things with his food and drink intake as Cerundolo nets a forehand drop shot, and the next round he was fine. But
well, it's been a tough run of tournaments for Andy in terms of conditions as well, so you can say yes, he's cramping, but is that just because of the conditions he's been at? Because Washington, I mean, we did commentary on the tournament for Washington, and the conditions there were some of the toughest I've ever seen. I mean, every single player was struggling with it. We saw Dan Evans get through against Taylor Fritz because Taylor just couldn't continue on with the match because it was just so tough physically. And he's one of the most match fit players on the ATP Tour this year.
Yeah, that's right. There's 40-30 on Cerundolo's serves. Got a point for a 2-love lead. He swipes the forehand, but it's into the net. Murray getting into the service game. And I'm sure there are some Brits in the crowd, Naomi, but I think there's also an awful lot of affection from anybody who's come to US Open over the years and seen Andy Murray, and that they want the guy to win.
Absolutely. He's not only is he a past champion here, but so many people describe. We say the top 3, but it was the top 4 for a long time, wasn't it? This is as good as tennis royalty as you can getting a ticket to courtside to watch Andy Murray.
That's right. Now, as mentioned, the rest of the team, as well as Naomi, we have Gigi Salmon here with us, and Russell Fuller and Laura Robson's going to be joining us as well, as a serves goes out wide from Cerundolo, then a backhand cross-court from him. Murray's at the far end where we look, wiping that backhand of his, batting it down the centre, then a forehand that he clips as well. Huge forehand on the line for Cerundolo, who's attacking now, but Murray's got a chance for the pass, and he makes it. Down the line he hits that, and that was a little bit of a roll back of the years of vintage Andy Murray backhand.
Yeah, you don't want to approach to Andy Murray's backhand, do you? I'm not sure approaching to the forehand's much better, but his backhand is just absolute money. So accurate. He guessed the right way there as well, Andy Murray, so he's actually on the front foot when he was hitting it.
I can tell you've been spending a bit of time in America. That's absolute money. That's what
I've only just got here. I've only been here about 2 days.
Already, Naomi's down with the lingo. Andy Murray's got break point to level up at 1 game apiece here. In the first match of our coverage from the US Open in 2022. Serve out wide from Cerundolo, batted back down the middle by Murray, who now has a forehand that he heaves down the centre, and into the net goes the backhand from Cerundolo. There's been quite a few unforced errors there. Murray's shaking his fist, and from 40-15 down, he's broken back for 1 game all, and Ivan Lendl celebrates with no expression at all.
It was interesting as well, listening to Van Lendl upstairs. He was saying about the coaching rule, and they're still trying to grasp all the ins and outs of it. So if there's a heat break, which there could very well be at the heat rule in play today, which is where you get the extended time after the set, you're actually not allowed to speak to your team in that break, nor are you allowed to speak to them at change of ends, only when you're down the same end as your team. If you're down the other end, of course, you can do hand signals, but it doesn't make sense to me that if your opponent's taken a medical timeout, or if it's a change of ends or a heat break rule, those seem like optimum moments that you could go and have a quick chat with your team.
I think it's rife with problems, the way they've organised this. Either you can coach or you can't.
Yeah.
I would have thought. Or, make it that you can only do it at sit-downs if that's necessary, but trying to work out what isn't coaching now that they've allowed this little relaxation of the rules is so tricky to understand. The Cerundolo nets another backhand. It's 1 game all here, and the first thing that I've noticed from watching this guy is he can't get the backhand going, Cerundolo. He's missed about 4 into the net now.
Yeah, and that's going to be the tough ask for him today, is how do you find the tactic to beat Murray when Murray's going to be happy to stay in that backhand cross-court rally all day long. Cerundolo is going to be wanting to look for that forehand, but Andy's just good enough to keep the backhand direction off the forehand side of Cerundolo, so he's going to have to find it as the match goes on, that's for sure.
Yeah. So 1 game all. 15-love Murray starting to settle down here now as he hits his backhand off the back foot. Half volley is it, but long. Is he the favourite in this match in your eyes? I mean, 24th seed he's playing against. Murray, you know, he's nowhere near the seedings at the moment.
I'm pretty 50-50 about this. I didn't think it was the toughest draw you could get, especially playing a seed at a Grand Slam. Maybe it's because, you know, he's not as experienced as the other players, or maybe because, as we say, he predominantly prefers the hard.
Yeah, stays nowhere near the seedings. He's 51 in the world at the moment, is Andy Murray, so you know, nearly 20 places outside where we would need to be, with Cerundolo 27 in the world, hitting his backhand cross court. Better backhand now from Cerundolo, but it's his forehand that he does the damage with normally, as he whips that forehand down the line, then hits another backhand on the line. He's hitting that more confidently now, though, but Murray is a backboard here. He's just getting everything back and hitting the two-hander down the middle. Drop shot by Cerundolo. Here comes Murray. Forehand cross-court. Lob by Cerundolo. Smash Murray! And a celebration from Murray. He's 35, this bloke. Got a metal hip, chasing down drop shots as though they're nothing.
Unbelievable point, and you can see Cerundolo just making Andy cover every single inch of the court. They're going from the drop shot straight to the lob, really testing the fitness of Murray. What an overhead that was from Andy. He hit like a cute, short angle overhead winner. Just incredible core strength to hold yourself up in the air at the end of a long rally when you're huffing and puffing for oxygen.
30-15 Murray. That'll get the old cobwebs out, won't it? A rally like that. Remind him what the US Open's all about.
You can see them both still really heavily breathing, trying to catch their breath here.
I mean, that is a big element to New York, is just the cardiovascular requirements in the humidity. I mean, I took a little walk around the courts yesterday to see where you could sit as a forehand is crashed back by Cerundolo off a pretty weak-looking second serve from Murray. So this is another point for the Argentine to get him to 30-all, 1 game all. And I mean, even just walking from one side of the premises here to the other, if you bound up a stairway, and I can't say I exactly bounded up it, but I'm pretty much out of breath, and I know I'm not Andy Murray fit, but it's humid out there, and you can't really fill your lungs with that much oxygen, it doesn't feel like.
There's not that much oxygen in and around Manhattan, I don't think.
They don't really do it, do they?
Not much available.
It's not their thing. My word, though, it's a buzzing city. Maybe not what it was from a few years ago, pre-pandemic, of course. Well, a lot of places closed down is one of the things that I've noticed since 2019. Certain shops that we might have gone to, or laundry places and cafes, not everywhere is open anymore. But still, from talking to Russell, who was here last year, I think there's been a pretty big uplift in terms of atmosphere and buzz. There's a forehand's netted by Cerundolo, and Murray's held and shaking the fist already. There's a couple of Brits in the crowd shaking their fists in his direction, and I wouldn't be that surprised if Murray decides to eyeball those 2 Brits that are isolated in their seats on the other side and say, right, you 2 are my tag team for the next 3 hours, and I'm going to get you involved. Murray already asking for the ice towel. That's the sort of thing that they put around their neck, isn't it, to try and keep themselves cool. 2-1 he leads on serve.
It's as simple as it sounds. It's literally just a towel with ice rolled up in the middle, and the physios just make them up really simply. They kind of dampen the towel a little bit, as I say, whack a load of ice in the middle, roll it up, and just tie the ends off with some masking tape. Basically, there's no There's no special trick to it, but they also have at US Open, kind of looks like the end of a vacuum cleaner, but it's like a personal air conditioning unit,
yes.
isn't it? So you can see Andy's just had it pointed at him now as well, just trying to keep that body temperature down, and that's actually a good sign, because you don't want to let it get up right from the start of the match. You can see him as well, he's already on the gel packs, on the you can see he's got his minerals and his drinks there as well.
What a
like
gel packs. Well, I mean, basically he's got this little sachet, hasn't he? He rips off the top of it, and it's almost like he's getting a bag of sugar and he's just sort of inhaling it.
It's a lot of sugar, there's lots of salts in there as well, potassium, stuff that's going to help keep those cramps at bay and keep your energy levels up as well. And as I say, you need to start that the second you get on court. Don't wait until you get tired, it's too late by then.
Okay.
I think the gels are favoured as well, because you're not still kind of chomping on your banana when you're walking back to the baseline ready to play the first point of the next game. The gel just kind of slides straight down. It's a bit easier to deal with.
Newfangled. Not like the old school where they had 4 bananas a set. I was going to suggest, Naomi, that you go and bring us up an ice towel to have a look at. But
I thought you were going to say a gel. I was going to say I can get hold of a gel if you'd like
one
a
of
gel.
those. I've always wondered. What flavour are they? Do they do different flavours?
Lots of different flavours. Yeah, you can get them in sports shops in England though. They're just they're ready and available.
As you can tell, I don't really do any sport.
I'll try and bring one up this week. Gigi and I often have a thing at the Grand Slams of which freebies she can get me.
Was it you who brought up pickle juice once? Because that was disgusting. What do they have that for?
Yeah, that's for cramps. That's a really good remedy for cramp, actually. I couldn't get hold of some, so I actually just went and bought a jar of pickles, took all the pickles out and kept the jar in my bag. But they actually have a professional brand of pickle juice that's marketed. It's like in little shot-sized bottles, and they have them in the physio room now. So if you're already cramping, that can kind of help take you back a step.
Okay, and Gigi's not looking
but it's disgusting.
Too into that idea.
When the cramps start, you'll happily drink it.
Okay. 2-1 here for Andy Murray, and he's got love 15 on Cerundolo's serve. This is a good little riposte from Murray, because he found himself a break of serves down, and he was 40-15 down, but he's turned things around nicely. But a forehand tip down the line for a winner by Cerundolo. Yeah, I was going to mention the ice towel. We have the most ferocious air conditioning in our commentary box.
Welcome
here.
to America.
I think we're all right for the coolness. When we step outside a bit later, I think we might feel the difference. Murray is about as close to clean shaven as I've seen him in quite a while, as he hits his serve out wide onto the forehand, and it's blisteringly struck back by Cerundolo onto his baseline, rather by Murray on the return. Really nice return from Murray, that he sort of stepped onto that return and crashed it, and we're actually seeing it fly through the sky, and it's not even rotating the ball as it goes through the air. He's hit it that flat that it's like it was stationary in terms of rotation as it went through the air. So this is 15-30 for Murray now. A little opening perhaps. He leads 2-1. He's stepping inside the baseline. He gets back under the centre. He's striking the ball well here, Murray. And he's got himself 2 break points because Cerundolo's gone long. And Cerundolo's now barking at his support team.
It's funny, isn't it? He's always been one of the best returners in the game, Andy Murray. And you can see the pressure that he's putting on his young opponent here already. The one game Cerundolo's got was actually a break of Murray's serve, so he's yet to hold.
So, 2 points for Murray to break here. It would be his second break of the match as he hits his forehand down the middle. Now a little backhand slice down the centre. Big forehand on the line by Cerundolo, but it's scooped back by Murray. And now Murray roofs to his right, and he gets that one back as well. Cerundolo now drop shots. In comes Murray, reaches it, backhand on the line. Lob by Cerundolo, smashed by Murray, and he breaks for 3-1.
It's physical, isn't it? For both players, but right now it's Andy Murray that's coming out on top. Another drop shot from Cerundolo, and again choosing to go for that lob after the drop shot, just pushing his opponent, making him use those legs. Couldn't get enough on the drop shot. On the lob though, it was an easy overhead put away for Andy.
We're seeing some wonderful slow motion close-ups of Andy Murray as he's scampering after the ball, the desire in his eyes to get to the ball.
It's almost like a challenge, isn't it, when someone drop shots him? He knows he's quick.
Yeah, I think it is. There's a point to prove in every chasing down of a drop shot for Andy Murray. I think there always has been, but age 35. I think he wants to show everybody he's still got it. And that's a trait of all the great champions, isn't it? And none more so than Serena Williams, who we're going to be seeing from 7 o'clock local time, midnight in the UK on 5 Live. We'll be bringing you commentary of Serena Williams playing what could be her final singles match up against Danka Kovanic. Maybe though, maybe Williams has still got something left. Let's see. Here's a backhand down the centre by Cerundolo, who's 3-1 down against Andy Murray, who's hitting his forehand down the line. Murray really striking the ball cleanly now. There's precision and confidence behind every stroke at the moment as he comes in and hits a little chipped backhand cross court. Drop shot by Cerundolo. That one's too good for Murray this time. He got Murray on the back foot, and Murray didn't respond quick enough.
He just kept that final drop shot lower that time, Cerundolo. He actually went cross court with it, so over the lower part of the net, just able to add that bit more slice. Didn't sit up in the way that the other ones did. Andy had no chance to get up to it.
Quite a lot of cloud in the sky today, and that won't help the humidity. There is sun poking out from between the clouds and making it really hot in the sun as well. Forehand on the line from Murray, lob lifted by Cerundolo, smash Murray, 15-all.
15-all.
Very deliberately preparing himself between each point here, not wasting any unnecessary energy, having a look where the sun is. Hits the opening serve long. Here's the second, he spins it in onto the forehand of Cerundolo, attacks it down the centre. Murray, really good depth from the forehand, and then long goes Cerundolo, who you can hear him chuntering away to himself. He already looks a bit miffed with how things are going, Cerundolo.
I think Andy's just putting the tactics out better at the moment, isn't he? As we mentioned, he's happy. I would say Andy Murray, again, one of the best backhands in men's tennis, in tennis. And for Cerundolo, that's going to cause him problems because he doesn't want to stay in those cross-court backhand rallies, and Andy's good enough to make him do that.
Yeah, particularly in this sort of form. I'm really taken by the form that Murray is showing early on here as he hits a big serve out wide and gets to 40-15, the backhand return cross-court and wide from Cerundolo. In the first game and a half of this match, well, Murray broken and 40-15 down, and he just needed that little bit of time to start getting his timing and rhythm. And in the exchanges from the baseline now, his accuracy is unerring, it seems. He's hitting baselines. It's almost Djokovic-like at the moment, the way Murray's striking the ball consistently as he hits his forehand down the centre, chips his backhand down the middle, attacking his Cerundolo, coming in and playing a backhand volley and punching it down the line for a winner. 40-30 Murray.
It's almost a good matchup for Andy as well in terms of picking up good habits, because if he does become too passive, which we know at times Andy can, Cerundolo's all over these short balls. That's when he is able to get on the forehand, and we saw it there. He used it for the approach, easy put away backhand volley. Andy has to force himself to stay on the front foot, to force himself to dictate these rallies, make Cerundolo play a lot of backhands, and you feel that's going to help him to progress and lift his level even more if he can get through this match for the rest of the tournament.
Well, that's a really good service game from Murray again. Another cheap point one from his first serve, the racket shanking from Cerundolo, and this is a 4-1 advantage for Murray early on, and I think the signs are positive here from an Andy Murray perspective, just in terms of form. You know, we don't know how he's going to end up feeling physically as the match goes a couple of hours and longer, best of 5 sets of course here at the US Open, but I think just in terms of the way he's striking the ball, he can be pretty satisfied. I don't know what he's talking to the umpire about here though, Murray.
I think he's annoyed there's still no ice towels. Just redirecting the ball kid who stood holding the umbrella as well, letting Andy, just letting him know that he was actually still sat entirely in the sun.
So the ball kid with the umbrella is having a lovely time in the shade, but the person he's supposed to be shielding from the sun is in the glaring sun. Not to worry. What an atmosphere.
It's interesting as well hearing Ivan Lendl upstairs. Leon said to him, what are you going to use the coaching? You know, what's the plan? Have you discussed that? And Ivan said, yeah, of course I am. Because every coaches always did anyway, it's just legalised now. But he said, you know, Andy's going to ask the question if there's something specific that he wants to know. Otherwise, if we see something that's, you know, glaring that we really need to get across, then we'll communicate it. But we're not just going to sit there kind of ramble on for no reason, which I think people were worried the coaching would kind of change the energy or the dynamic of matches. But I think certainly when you watch it on television, you don't particularly even notice that it's happening. I think because it already was anyway.
And actually, where I enjoyed it, and I have to say I haven't enjoyed it very much because I think the rules are so woolly at the moment. I don't think people know what's going on. They did mic up the player boxes during Cincinnati, and so you've got Kyrgios complaining relentlessly in the direction of his poor support team, who then just said, come on Nick, keep going. I was thinking, goodness me, that's an example of just how resilient they have to be, and they have to not take any of this stuff personally.
Absolutely.
And I mean, it's the same. It's been the same over the years for Andy Murray's various teams, and he's said to us, I do tell them, look, I don't mean it. I don't. It's not. It's the heat of the battle.
Yeah.
It's the heat of the moment. He thinks the world of them, and it's just these players. They go into a different place a lot of the time, don't they, when they're on the court? As Murray chips his backhand under centre. He's got love 15 on the Cerundolo serve. Lob lifted by Murray. Scuttling back is Cerundolo. He's going to have to hit a smash, and he does. Down the centre, Murray's back in the rally, but he skanks his backhand rather inside out and into the tram lines.
It was a good lob, wasn't it? Running forehand from Murray. I think that's the exact running forehand that Lendl's actually been telling him he wants him to be more aggressive on. But Murray that time choosing to hit the lob as high as he could. Cerundolo in the end hitting a really good bounce smash. So much topspin slice on it that it actually kind of caught Murray off guard.
Serve out wide from Cerundolo. The vocal yelps are from Andy Murray, all the exertion of trying to get to these wide shots from Cerundolo. Now he's back in neutral on the rally is Murray. He's attacking with that forehand. There was that running forehand you mentioned that Ivan Lendl wants him to hit through rather than just sort of parrying back. And he did hit it, but he hit it into the net.
And it's interesting, isn't it? Because for Andy, he's obviously seen it as the approach of, I'm going to make my opponent play one more shot. But Lendl's saying, well, you're kind of opening up a gap there for your opponents. They know if they get you on the run on that forehand, you're going to go to the slice grip, and they can then be aggressive on the next one. At least if you start being more aggressive behind it, they kind of don't know what's coming from it. They can't just then continuously use it as an attack.
Yeah. And that is really the blueprint of Ivan Lendl, both as a player in his heyday. He was a big forehand heavy player, and what he brought to Andy Murray when they started working together in 2012, as Murray tries to go after his forehand there but hits it into the net. And when they rejoined forces as well in 2016, the same was true, but it was really noticeable in 2011, 2012, 2013, that period where Murray won so much. He won the Olympics, he won Wimbledon, he won the US Open. The forehand became a real weapon, and he tried to dominate with it, and in the past that just wasn't the case. And it's I think it's a positive seeing him try to go after it here as he hits his backhand cross court. It's 40-15 Cerundolo. Down the line goes Murray with the backhand but wide, so 4-2.
Both players look like they've jumped in a pool, don't they? Only been on court for half an hour. I think there might be a fair few shirt changes or even full kit changes out there, not just in this match but throughout all the matches on court right now.
Yes, Andy Murray's shirt clinging to him at the moment. The other thing about hitting that forehand hard when you're on the run rather than hitting a slice forehand might reduce the number of shots in rallies. I mean, he's 35 years of age. I know he's super fit, but the shorter the matches are, that he can get the wins, surely the better, as he hits his forehand on the line, comes in, plays a low half volley on the backhand side. What a shot by Andy Murray. And Cerundolo couldn't reach it.
Unbelievable hands there from Murray. It was actually such a good attempt at a pass from Cerundolo. He wasn't going for the clean winner. He knew as soon as he hit it, Andy was going to have to hit up, but such soft hands there from Andy with the drop half volley. Big fist pump up to his box.
So 4-2 Murray, 15 love. First set, first match of the US Open. Our coverage here on 5 Sports Extra as Murray serves that one into the backhand. Lovely hard serve, but he's backed it up with a forehand into the net. And we can hear his frustration there as he netted that forehand. That's 3 he's hit into the net in the last few minutes. But they are aggressive, attacking, attempted shots, aren't they? He's not just trying to rally with that shot.
Exactly, and if he continues to go for them, I think he missed them all in the net as well. So if he just starts to try and hit the same shot, give himself some feedback whilst he's out there on the court to increase his height over the net, I think he'll be good.
Serve out wide from Murray. Chipped back by Cerundolo. There's definitely more behind every forehand that we're watching at the moment from Andy Murray. He's just managed to get a backhand error from Cerundolo. We've seen a lot of those into the net today. Do you think that is actually a weakness from Cerundolo, or is he just having a bad day on that backhand?
Combination. I think it's his weaker of the two sides. It's tough to say it's a weakness in terms of a shot, because he's ranked 27 in the world, so when you're top 30 it's not as simple as hitting forehands and backhands, but in terms of what the side he's going to cause more damage off, it certainly is forehand.
Serve down the centre, Murray, forehand halfway up the net from Cerundolo. Pretty error strewn, you have to say, from the 24th seed today, and he looks pretty fed up with his performance so far, and Murray's having things rather too much to his liking for Cerundolo in his camp. Serve down the centre, Murray. Point for a 5-2 lead here in the opening set as chipped backhand cross-court Cerundolo. Little acute angle cross-court on the rolled backhand from Murray, and then a blasted backhand with almost anger from Cerundolo that went way too long, and a determined, confident-looking fist bump from Murray towards his team as if to say, yeah, I'm playing all right here. Let's keep this going. 5-2. So Murray sits down with the ice towel around his neck, and he's got the white baseball cap on today. Cerundolo's got one of those on as well, which is back to front. Do you think there's an age at which you can get away with a back to front cap, and really then maybe you need to just stop doing that when you get to
I think it's almost habit, and you know what tennis players are like with superstition. It's very tough to change a habit, especially I wonder if you had a cap on backwards for his run at Miami Open, because you'd need to keep that going then for the rest of the year at least, wouldn't you?
Yes.
More, I think, just a way to keep the some people actually don't like playing with visors and caps, because when they serve the ball up, when they throw the ball toss up for their serves, they think the peak of the visor or cap kind of stops them from seeing the ball as well.
Yeah.
So some people don't like it, but maybe he just needs something to keep his hair out of his face. Who knows?
Yeah, it's always struck me watching big strapping Matteo Berrettini wearing his back to front cap, and I always think he looks less menacing with his cap on back to front somehow. I don't know. I mean, he's this huge guy.
These bottles here because I'm keeping count of how many I'm drinking, so don't remove them.
Interesting. Did you hear that?
Yep.
Andy saying, "Do not remove my empty bottles. I'm keeping track of how much I'm drinking."
That's fascinating.
So
isn't
just
it?
letting the ball kids know that he doesn't want them putting in the bin until after the match.
And you would imagine his senses are heightened more than ever at the moment because of the cramping problems he's been having.
That's absolutely why.
So he's on it. He's absolutely. I mean, the degree to which he's showing attention to detail there is all for all to see. Well, it's going okay at the moment if you're an Andy Murray fan. 5-2 he leads at the moment. First set, 15 love on Cerundolo's serve. Cerundolo is struggling a bit, to be honest, at the moment. There's another forehand error. This is not the player that we've seen earlier on in this year who's looked confident and comfortable with his ground strokes. Just at the moment, he's going through a really bad patch in this match, and Murray's just mopping up as a result. 15 all. Serve clips the top of the net and goes long from Cerundolo. Murray's putting those black tennis shoes of his inside the baseline here, stepping into the blue of the court. You've basically got the rectangular court dimensions and you've of the white lines and the royal blue inside, and then everything on the outside that's out of the court is green. And Murray's won another point as he crowds Cerundolo, and Cerundolo makes another error. I mean, the guy's unforced error count must be off the charts at the moment as people just sort of wander in and take their seats when they fancy. That's kind of what happens here at the US Open. People do not care. Tennis match going on? Well, I had to go and get my pretzel, and I'm now going to take my seat. Here's a forehand down the centre by Murray, who's got 15-30 on the Cerundolo serve. Murray misses his forehand down the line.
I love the Grand Slams have their each different personalities. None of them try to become each other. You know, they just respect, that's our fan base, that's the energy of our tournament. We're going to keep it. We're almost going to play into it even more. You know, there's so much going on around the grounds at US Open. It's almost chaotic at times, isn't it? There's bands playing right next to courts and the food courts there, and you're getting the whiff when you're trying to serve of a hot dog. But I mean, it's just non-stop energy. It's brilliant.
Sure is. Forehand return Murray. Now he moves to his left. 30 all, trying to set up set point here is Murray. Big forehand on the line by Cerundolo though now. Now he chips it back on the line. Lovely shot that from Cerundolo. Forehand on the line from him. Murray's getting everything back. Backhand's crashed down the line by Cerundolo. And this time Murray can't get the ball back over the net on the forehand side. One of Cerundolo's best rallies of the match so far, I thought that. Couple of big forehands. Lovely sliced backhand on the line at one point.
40-30.
And he gets himself to 40-30.
It's starting to becoming more and more important as to who's dictating the rally, isn't it? Who's able to get their opponent on the run first. And as you mentioned, Andy getting his feet inside that baseline into the blue area of the court. And I wonder if Cerundolo maybe wasn't expecting Andy to be this aggressive. You know, sometimes you think he's just going to be sat back, making a lot of balls, almost being a bit passive, but it's not the way Andy's out there playing this match today.
No. They almost need to have a sort of bit of research which says, is Ivan Lendl sitting courtside? He is. That means Andy Murray's going to be going after his shots then. Here's a little backhand chip cross court by Cerundolo. Murray does whack a forehand cross court for a clean winner. And if Ivan Lendl was going to smile at anything, and he's not, it would have been at that shot.
Yeah, all three shots there that Andy hit in that rally were played from inside the baseline from the return. And then both of his forehands, his feet didn't actually drop outside of the baseline. He didn't need to come up to the net. Again, just showing how aggressive he's being.
So juice points here. Murray leading 5-2, first set. Returns with a backhand, but it won't get over the net because that first serve is hit at a pretty fair old rate, and it's hit the centre service line. 118 miles an hour. Okay, there are players that hit them 135, 140, but the key to that serve was it hit the centre service line. As far away from the Murray backhand as he could possibly get it. And then he does it again for an ace, and it's now 5-3 Murray.
Murray leads 5-3 first set.
Is it different when you serve for a set to all the other surface games?
Yeah, even if you're feeling more confident, less confident, it's just in your mind that you're serving for the set. It just gives you that extra something to think about, doesn't it? And I think, especially in the men's game, if you see a break early on, how often you see players just remain completely calm because they know they're going to get another opportunity, a bit of a look in that game when they are serving for the set, because your mind's just somewhere else, just something extra to think of.
Yeah. Well, Murray has just come out there and hit, I think, probably his best serve of the match from the juice court, as they call it, from the right-hand side. He sent it down just with a little bit of diagonal on it so that it hit the centre service line and the where it joins the horizontal service line, and went away for an ace. And he's tried to hit a second one there. 120 miles an hour, these two serves. But he's just gone along with this one. 5-3, 15 love, Murray. Arthur Ashe Stadium court is just about starting to get into gear. They've got some kids out there doing a demonstration at the moment before Daniil Medvedev will come out, top seed in the men's draw up against Stefan Kozlov. Murray double faults there, so he's at 15 all the outside courts, basically this one and all the others, start at 11 o'clock every day. And Arthur Ashe Stadium, the main one, it is at noon, 12 midday. Coco Gauff will be in action as well on that court a little bit later. So 5-3. And Naomi's managed to figure out how the app works. I can't. We'll be able to give you some score updates in a minute. Here's a little forehand volley from Murray, and that's his worst one of the match so far, and he's fluffed it straight out of court. It's 5-3 Murray, but it's 15-30, and as Naomi said, serving out is a bit different.
Well, interestingly, one of the other, well, the only other poor volley he's missed, because we've seen him hit some incredible ones this match, Murray, was in the very first game, and he was serving from this end as well.
And a set point on grandstand court for Maria Sakkari that she's just converted. 6-4 against Tatiana Maria, the surprise Wimbledon semi-finalist. Oh dear, Andy Murray not happy with that. 15-30, tensions rising on Louis Armstrong court here. Murray serving for the opening set. He serves out wide onto the backhand side. Now he'll heave that forehand down the middle. He's really putting as much as he can into these forehands, but he's netted that one, and he's come off the shot, and he's frustrated, and he's shaking his head, and he's muttering, and he's 2 break points down.
He's frustrated he's not making these first serves because he knows he wants to be on the front foot in these rallies, and he certainly wasn't on that forehand, was he? He was on the back foot. He decelerated into the net. 2 break points.
Cerundolo suddenly looks like a different man facially at the moment. His eyes are alive as he has 2 break points. He's looked thoroughly fed up for the last 30 minutes or so. His form hasn't been what he wanted it to be. Murray's handled this opening set with ease to this point. 5-3, 15-40. Murray serves onto the forehand. Now he'll hit another forehand. Down the line it goes, quite deep as well. Murray steps into this one. He's trying to dominate and dictate. Hits the cross-court forehand, gets Cerundolo moving. Now he hits down the centre, does Murray. Deep hitting from Murray, but he can't get through the defences at the moment. He'll now hit a forehand cross-court. Cerundolo responds with his forehand on the line. Chip back and on the centre by Murray. Now move to his left. Chips another one. Just drifts it onto the baseline. Backhand missed by Murray. Cerundolo strikes back, and Murray throws his arms out wide in disdain and disgust and despair. 5-4 he now leads. Oh dear, Naomi, what happened?
Well, you asked the question, is it different when you're serving for the set? I think not only is it different for the server, but it's also different for the returner, because, you know, your back's against the ropes, isn't it? It's now or never. You up your level or you're going out of the set, so you suddenly just dig that extra bit deeper, as Cerundolo did there. Cut all the unforced errors out, didn't he? But Andy's first serve percentage, I think, dropped off as well, so he maybe wasn't quite on the back foot as much, being rushed. As we said, Andy's done such a good job so far in this match. Just venting some frustrations, Andy, from his chair here at the changeover again. He's got that ice towel around his neck, trying to take on as much fluid as he can. See Van Lendl looking at his phone there, and interestingly, he said upstairs as well, or Leon asked the question, Leon Smith, are you allowed to communicate statistics to the player on court? Would it be allowed? I don't think it's against the rules. Would Van Lendl be allowed to pull up the statistics of this match and communicate them to Andy whilst he's on court? I think that is allowed. And he basically said he would do if there was something glaringly obvious. You know, he's not going to each and every game update him, your first serve percentage has dropped 1%, but you know, if there's across, especially because it's a 5-set match, across 2 sets, if there's, you know, you're winning the vast majority of points when you take your forehand after your first serve. If you can see a big glaring statistic that the player maybe hasn't picked up on and you can communicate that across, I think that's a great way of using the coaching.
Yeah. It's fascinating to watch Murray's interactions with Lendl, or even just his mere presence. I'm sure that, I mean, look, Ivan Lendl's done everything in the sport, but I think just looking up at him makes a difference to Andy Murray, and seeing him rather than anybody else.
He's a commanding presence, isn't he? He has a lot of respect for Lendl, and I think it meant a lot to Andy that he wanted to work with him again, because
believed with him.
Yeah,
believed in him.
And he said he's not just going to work with me for the sake of it. It's because he believes that I've still got more within me, and that meant a lot to him, because their kind of visions aligned on it, because Andy feels the same.
And Murray said for the first time in his career, he'd spoken to a number of coaches who weren't interested in working with him.
It's incredible,
because they didn't think he'd got much left. And when you make a commitment to a player as a coach, it's your livelihood, so you've got to consider all of that. But yes, I think it did Murray the world of good to have the great Ivan Lendl say to him, I think you can still do this. And here he is, having his best go at it. And he's got himself a point on the board here on the serve of Cerundolo, who's 4-5 down now. Now, the flip side to how difficult is it to serve out for a set is, how do you then feel when you've got a break for the set, when you've just had yours broken? Do you get a bit of freedom, sort of? Can you relax and maybe be more dangerous? I wonder. Let's see. I will find out from Naomi in a second what she thinks. Big backhand return by Murray. Swipes cross court by Cerundolo, but he's caught by Murray. Murray's in charge here. He steps in with his forehand. Inside out it goes. Comes in with a forehand volley. Oh, what a shot by Murray. Scoop back by Cerundolo. How has he got that back? Lob by Murray. Smashed by Cerundolo. And Murray's arms are out wide. I think he thinks there might have been a double bounce here, from Cerundolo screeching to a stop. Let's have a listen here. He's going to have a chat with the umpire. I mean, that was a miraculous
He's
run
laughing,
down.
Andy. He doesn't know. I don't know what on earth he's.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why.
He's upset about, but he's.
We're looking at the forehand volley on the replay here. Let's see. This ball bounces. Suddenly, out of nowhere, Cerundolo will appear, and that is a double bounce. It is a double bounce, unquestionably. Now, if they've shown that in the stadium, that needs to be overruled, surely. Because that's ridiculous.
Well, going off the sounds we can hear right now, they've definitely just showed that as a replay in the stadium, which is a bit naughty, because they can't overrule it off the replay, so why have they shown it?
Crazy. Well, yeah. And
is Cerundolo going to take the point here?
Yeah. I don't know. Let's see what they're going to do here.
Ladies and gentlemen, good sportsmanship. Mr. Cerundolo is awarding the point to Mr. Murray.
Wow, that's fantastic. And a thumbs up from Andy Murray in the direction of Francisco Cerundolo, as if to say, thank you, mate. You are a good sport. And that is great to see.
Could he? The crowd would have booed him for the rest of the match.
No, I mean, I agree with you. It is great to see that he did that. I mean, I still think he got stitched up by the big screen, even though it was the right decision in the end. Smashed by Cerundolo, gets himself back to 15-30. But what an absolute ridiculous state of affairs that we have a big screen that can show you what's going on, and the umpire isn't allowed to do anything off the back of it.
I think they normally don't show replays for that reason.
But why not just change the rule and let them use the screen?
Because it was a close double bounce, wasn't it? It was very close. I don't know, would Cerundolo know it without seeing the replay if he got that up or not? As a player, I'm not sure if you'd know.
No, but surely the umpire should be able to say, I want to have a look at that again.
Yeah.
And
VAR.
off the back of it, I am going to say that we got that wrong.
Yeah, bring in the VAR.
Overall. Anyway, well done, Francisco Cerundolo. Here's Murray now 2 points away from the opening set. He hits his backhand down the line, does Cerundolo. Now he'll step in and hit another one that Murray reaches, but he can't get back over the net. Two violent backhands from Cerundolo. That shot that was all over the place early on has found its range, and it's 30 all.
Just shows how on it Andy Murray is. It took us, a replay of an extremely slow motion to be able to see that it was a slight double bounce. No surprise the chair umpire didn't pick it up. I actually don't think that's even a mistake from him, because it was at an angle on the other side of the court from him, wasn't it? It was very tough for him to see, but
it's the
Andy saw it
stuff
straight
happens.
away.
Yeah, I think the players get a feeling, don't they? I mean,
Andy probably had the best view of everyone, to be honest. I'm not even sure if Cerundolo would have felt that was a double bounce.
No, I don't think Cerundolo.
Because your racket hits the floor at the same time as you're trying to pick the ball up.
Backhand hit down the centre by Murray. Cross-court backhand by Cerundolo. Chip back by Murray, drifts long. Back from love 30 is Cerundolo to 40-30.
And he's upped his game since he's given that point away, hasn't he? It's his turn now to dictate these rallies, Cerundolo.
Goodness me. Well, what an eventful opening set. 55 minutes. Murray led this set 5-2. Couldn't serve it out. He got himself to love 30 on Cerundolo's serve at 4-5 on the Argentine serve. Murray's hit that backhand cross court and it's clipped the line, Cerundolo had left it. He thought it was going out. Goodness me. And Cerundolo actually asking to have another look at the Hawkeye live verdict, and the ball is being shown to have caught the merest lick of paint, and Cerundolo's look on his face is, oh my god, this thing doesn't work. No way was that out, he's thinking. Anyway, it's deuce. Cerundolo serves into the forehand. Murray hits it back on the forehand side. He's trying to set up set point here, but he can't. He's put his forehand long. Point for 5-all now for Cerundolo. Serve at the body from Cerundolo as Murray steps in, smacks his backhand on the line, but lovely lofted, loopy forehand by Cerundolo. Lots of top spin on that shot. He really does have a nice looking forehand, this man. Backhand cross court from Murray. Down the line goes the backhand of Cerundolo. Forehand cross court by Murray. What a rally! Forehand chip down the centre by Murray. Now huge forehand by Cerundolo, who's underneath a lob here. He smashes straight back at Murray, lobs it back onto the sideline. It keeps going, this rally. Forehand netted by Murray. And Cerundolo raises his fist because suddenly he's found some form here and he's levelled from 2-5 down at 5 games all. And I'll tell you what, if Andy Murray doesn't win this set, it's going to be hard to take for him.
What a game that was from both players. Some of the best rallies, I think, of the match so far. So physical. We had the double bounce, he's then handed the point to his opponent, Cerundolo, and from that moment on, after being love 30 down, he's just upped his level. He's been so aggressive. Incredible physical rallies, as we're saying. It's just a battle, isn't it? Been on court for just over an hour, I think, now.
Yeah, 57 minutes actually. But of course the knock-up and all that sort of thing, so it's taking us past the 12 o'clock mark local time, which means Daniil Medvedev is out on the Arthur Ashe Stadium court as things are sort of gearing up on the biggest stadium court in world tennis. Murray with a big ace, 15 love. Five all, 15 love Murray. It's become a good set now as Murray serves out wide, bounces it up high and then hits his backhand down the centre. Forehand netted by Cerundolo, who is a mixture of just brilliance and kind of pretty dodgy forehands and backhands into the net. You never quite know what's coming from his racket next.
He caught all those unforced errors out when he needed to, didn't he? And now it's back level again. They've started to creep back in. The last 2 games, he's just been in 3 games. He's been a really high level.
30 love Murray. Ace down the centre, 40 love. Just what he needs, this.
And it's massive mental mountain to get over the first set in a 5-set match.
Yeah.
It's not. You don't want to be a set down after you've put out an hour's worth of energy.
Another ace out wide from Murray. He's really getting that first serve going very nicely now. And he's 6-5 ahead, is Murray.
Murray leads by 6 games to 5.
Guaranteeing himself at least a tie-break now. And I'm just curious to see how many aces he's hit. Let's have some look at the stats here. Murray has hit in this match, according to this, that is not right. It says one ace.
Oh, mine still says 0, so my ace count is clearly not working.
About 7 aces I've seen. Oh dear, I'm not very good at the old stats, but I'm better than that. Okay, well, it's day 1, Gremlins. We accept that. The app's going to improve. Andy Murray's got the shirt off at the moment with the ice towel around his neck to cool down, and he already looks incredibly hot and sweaty.
You need to change the shirts quite consistently as well, because as they get soaked, it drips down, it soaks your shorts, that drips down onto your legs, soaks your socks and your shoes. I think we'll see a shoe change after, I don't know every set, but at least 2 sets, I think. If you can keep consistently changing, of course you're going to sweat onto your shorts as well, but it's the sodden shirt that really starts to drip and kind of get on top of everything else. So I wonder how many shirts they've each got in their bags actually. You'd have thought they'd bring more than 1 per set, but they're pretty hefty gym bags they've brought out onto court because they need enough kit and rackets for a 5-set match.
Yeah. Well, he's got a new shirt on, Andy Murray. The cap's back on. He's ready for battle. He's 6-5 up, and he's trying to avoid a tie-break here. And as the DJ rightly points out, Francisco Cerundolo is staying alive. Well, you said it was half full at the start of this match. No, I mean, it's pretty much rammed now, isn't it, in Louis Armstrong Stadium? They really have come out for this, and they're loving every minute. And Cerundolo, oh, that's interesting. He's just done a little rehearsal with the ball toss because the sun is suddenly right in his eyes as he looks up there. He's got his first serve in, though. Backhand cross-court from him. Murray chips his backhand on the centre, trying to win the first point, and he has. Long goes Cerundolo. Love 15.
Shaking his hand out there as well, as if he's trying to get the sweat off. Sweatband not doing its job right now for Cerundolo. But it's not actually just the serve that's difficult when the sun's in the way. It's the next ball afterwards, because you know, if you get a bright flash or look at a bright light, you get those sort of spots in your eyes. That next shot's always hard to try and react to.
5 Sports Extra here on BBC Sounds. The US Open is underway. It's the first match of it. It's Andy Murray in action. Naomi Brody here alongside me, David Law, as the forehands hit down the middle from Murray, and long goes Cerundolo again. It's love 30 on the Argentine serve, and he's now getting miffed.
He's done all the hard work, hasn't he? It's been really swinging. We're seeing there Murray winning 7 of the last 10 points. A few games earlier it was complete polar opposite.
So 5-6 Cerundolo, love 30. He serves out one into the forehand. Murray hits it back with a cross-court forehand. He'll chase down this backhand, go cross-court with a basket shot. Backhand volley by Cerundolo. Here comes Murray. Straight at the body of Cerundolo. Backhand lob by Murray. Smashed by Cerundolo. Absolutely brilliantly handled by the Argentine, because those balls were coming at a fair old rate at his body from the Murray backhands and forehands. And Murray's given himself a hard time here for not winning the point. But goodness me, I thought Cerundolo did a good job there.
It's a fantastic reaction volley, because Murray went right at him. I actually think he'd have been better off going for the passing shot there, Murray.
He went for a Lendl, didn't he? Right at the belly button of Cerundolo.
Just kept 2 hands on the racket. Extra strength.
So 15-30 now. Cerundolo serves onto the forehand. It's a good serve, and Murray puts it into the bottom of the net. 30 all. Murray goes over to his little box on the side of the court where his towel is, takes it out, gives himself a bit of a wipe down, puts it back in the box. 30 all. Cerundolo's serving to try to take this into a tiebreak at 5-6. Puts the serve long. One big strike here from Murray could set him up with a set point.
Net, second serve.
Ball clipping the top of the net from the Cerundolo serve, so he'll have to have another go. Cerundolo serves this one onto the forehand of Murray, who falls left as he hits that forehand to get out of the way of the ball. Forehand clipped down the line, but long, or rather wide, by Cerundolo, and it's now Murray who has that elusive set point that he's been so close to numerous times in this match. Can he convert? This would be big for him, Naomi, wouldn't it? I mean, obviously, any first set, but a first set like this, if you're 35 years old with a metal hip, you want to be winning this when you were 5-2 up.
Absolutely, he's just rode the wave of his opponent, hasn't he? He's been up and down this level. At times he's been pretty strewn with unforced errors his game, Cerundolo, but at other times he's played really good level of tennis. So Andy just trying to stay as solid as he can.
Yeah, using all of his experience. I think for the most part Murray's played really well in this first set as the ball smacks into the tape. He started slowly, Murray, got broken immediately, but he got it back on serve, and then he was 5-2 up and he got broken back. But here he is with set point, and he's got it. Double fault from Cerundolo, clenched fist from Andy Murray, who eyeballs Ivan Lendl, who eyeballs him back. And as a team, they've won the first set. And that is big for Andy Murray. Over an hour, 7 games to 5. Cerundolo's out of here. The bag's on the shoulders. He's going to go and have his first bathroom break, kit change, goodness knows what. And we'll keep an eye on how long that takes, because it was a year ago when Andy Murray played that epic match against Stefanos Tsitsipas, who, when Tsitsipas went off for a bathroom break repeatedly and forever, that Murray got incredibly angry, had it out with him, spoke about it in the press, and they ended up changing the rules so that he couldn't do it as much.
Well, I don't think it was just because it only happened in that match. Andy had actually said, he'd spoken about it with his team beforehand. It had started to become a bit of a habit for Tsitsipas, hadn't it? A lot of players had started to complain about it. And I think it was really getting in the head of his opponents. I think Andy was annoyed that it had bothered him so much, actually. But as you say, they brought in the toilet break rule after that. So Cerundolo will be on the clock when he leaves the court here. But he was just saying to the chair umpire, I need to change my shorts. I need to leave the court because I'm absolutely soaking wet through. They get 2 kit changes in a 5-set match. I think that's correct. I think in a 3-set match you get the one break to leave the court. In a 5-set match they'll get 2, but if he's taking it after the first set, he's only got 1 more for the rest of the match, which hopefully from the viewpoint of Cerundolo will be a while longer. Andy Murray also now leaving the court. I think he's decided if his opponent's gone, he may as well take the opportunity to change his shorts as well.
I mean, you can understand it. I feel like going and changing my outfit, to be honest.
I mean, they looked like they jumped in a pool after about 5 games, didn't they? So over an hour later, I'm not surprised that they need a change.
Somebody's come in a Union Jack outfit.
The Jerry Halliwell, Spice Girls dress.
The full thing.
Sequin, Union Jack dress.
Okay.
Iconic piece of British fashion history.
Okay. Quite right. Andy Murray's won the first set 7-5. She doesn't look completely convinced by the dress, so we'll let her have her say, and I'll hand over to Gigi. What about the second set? I mean, I just find the psychology of these matches so interesting. When you've won a set like that, it's an epic. What do you do? What do you think about? What do you say to yourself as you're coming out in the second set?
I actually don't think Andy will mind that Cerundolo's taken the toilet break here. I think if anything, he could do with a little timeout himself. As we've seen, as we say, Andy decided to take the break to change as well. We're just seeing all the different camera going out to everybody in the crowd as we see really filled up, considering it was half empty at the start of the match. But to answer your question, the psychology of the second set, it's a must-win, isn't it, for Cerundolo? Because how do you come back in a 5-set match after potentially 2 extremely physical sets, the first one taking over an hour in the end, both of them looking like they've jumped in a swimming pool. And from Andy Murray's perspective mentally, I mean, that's just a massive boost to his confidence coming out here, knowing that he beat him the hard way.
I know it was a long time ago, but I can confirm I would rather have full body cramp than drink pickle juice.
No, you've never full body cramped then, Gigi.
I would never.
If you full body cramped, you wouldn't choose that option.
No, I still would.
Because it's just a shot of pickle juice.
Oh,
So it's done, it's dusted, it's very quick.
Horrible.
It's disgusting, but it's very fast, and it stops the pain of the full body cramps.
I don't think I could do it.
Is it mean? I don't know. Have you seen the video of Nadal when he full body cramps in press and he kind of slides under the table? That's one of my favourite videos. I find it so funny to watch.
It's quite
But
mean.
I know how painful that is. It's
Have you
really
had full
horrible.
body cramp?
I haven't had I have. Do you know which match? Do you know who I played against?
Who?
It was at this tournament, Laura Robson.
Did you?
I
full
won
body cramped against
after
Laura
the
Robson?
match.
You won.
So I started cramping at the end of the match. I think it was I assume it was 3 sets. It must have been 3 sets. I had started cramping at the end of the match, and I took my drinks bottle, which was full of about 6 salt sachets, and I just gave it to the ball boy, and I said, "Run me my drinks bottle between every single point." And this was about 3 or 4 games left of the match, and Laura said she can't do that. And the trainer umpire said if she's within time, she can. So I just said to them, "Don't bring me my towel, just bring me this salt water each and every point." I just needed to get myself across the finish line. Managed to do it some way somehow, because you start cramping in muscles and you just know it's all downhill from there, because once one starts going, they all start
It's
going.
a knock on, isn't it?
So I walked straight off the court, walked right into the physio room and said, "I'm cramping." They lay me down, put ice all over me, and then everywhere just started cramping. It was awful.
I drink a lot of salt. I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
Pickle juice. I remember you brought that little vial of vile stuff. It's a
Vial
vial
and
of
vial.
vile stuff.
Would you like me to bring you one? Should we do a taste test on air?
Well, a few years ago you brought one, or I think who brought me one? But I couldn't do it.
Oh, so you haven't even tried it? You're choosing full body cramp. You
Leon
haven't
Smith
even
brought
tried
one.
it.
I put it in my fridge back home, and it was there for about a year.
But you've
No,
not
but I
tried
don't
it.
like pickles.
Second set.
Pickles. We have players. We have new clothes. David
We
Law's
have
gone
dry-
for a
we have
change
dry
of kits.
players.
We have dry players. David Law's having a kit change, although the air conditioning is working to the point where someone said, "Why do you have a jumper with you?" This is why I have a jumper with me. It might be humid and muggy outside, but it can get chilly in here. So we've had 6 minutes since the last point. You're listening to Sports Extra. Our plan for you today, you'll have updates throughout the day on 5 Live. Then at 9 o'clock this evening on 5 Live, we'll have an hour of tennis. Naomi's going to be with us, Kim Kleisters, David Russell, lots of tennis, lots of Serena Williams, lots of Raducanu chat. And then from around midnight, Serena Williams, Danka Kovanic, and everything that goes with that. We believe there'll be a ceremony, win or lose, afterwards in recognition of her time.
Interesting. So even if she's still in the tournament,
Well,
they'll still have the
I
ceremony.
believe the Obamas are coming, so you've got to kind of do it, haven't you? And I imagine there'll be a Meghan Markle of some
Well,
sort.
that was our conversation, wasn't it, when we did the pre-US Open chit chat? Was that how do you organise to have that many people here hanging around all week in case she does get through a few rounds?
So I think they're just going to do it.
Yeah, makes sense.
Win or lose. Obviously, everyone hoping that she wins and can extend this singles playing career, because she's still got the doubles to come. So Andy Murray is serving first because he broke Cerundolo's serve to take that first set by 7 games to 5. Cerundolo, the Argentinian, he's a 24 seed. They're going backhand to backhand, double-hander from the Argentine, double-hander flat into the mid-court from Murray, who has to scamper forward, scoops up the forehand, spins it cross-court, flies off the frame of Cerundolo's racket, who watches it fly. He's 27 in the world. He's a 24th seed, career high of 24. Fell in qualifying last year at Cerundolo. So this just shows how he's improved in the last 12 months. Exceptionally. He's got a tour title, he's got a first top 10 win, he's got a Masters semi-final. Yes, clay is his surface of choice, but he's making that breakthrough. He's up the rankings, and he's 27 in the world, 24th seed. But Andy Murray, the first set, 30 love, 40 love, game points. Already you can see the beads of sweat down the face of Murray. Hour and 13 on the clock. What are we, 25 past 12? In the office, it's slightly overcast day, but it's a heavy day, isn't it?
It's heavy. It's the exact muggy.
Very muggy. Unless you're in a commentary box, and it's just cold. But there's a clean hold to start things off. A little look towards the box, and Cerundolo, baseball having back front, just a little forlorn at the moment. He's an aggressive player, likes to dictate with the forehand, but he's not been allowed to at the moment. And Naomi, from Andy Murray's point of view, we've talked about the cramping. We cannot not talk about the age. He's got that first set. He would like to keep that momentum and try and get this done in 3 clean sets.
Absolutely, and he's played well in that first set, Andy Murray. I think David asked me earlier who did I think was the favourite coming into this match, and for me it was really 50-50. I think Cerundolo is a decent draw, especially if you've drawn a seed in the first round of a slam.
Absolutely.
But he's dangerous. He can be so aggressive off that forehand side, and that's sort of the tactic that we've seen Andy using, being really aggressive on the backhand, keeping it cross court as much as he can off the forehand of Cerundolo. But Andy's been so aggressive himself. He's been constantly stepping inside that baseline, not necessarily to approach the net, but just to take the time away from his opponent. And at times we've seen Cerundolo's game strewn with errors, but I think he's just maybe not expecting how quickly the ball would be coming back at him today.
Yeah. So Cerundolo looking to hold serve here, wipes a bead of sweat away from under his right eye. His index finger now reaching up and serving into the body of Murray. Murray gets out the way, puts it mid-court with the backhand netted from the Argentinian. Caroline Garcia can't quite go over the finish line yet against Rakimova, the Cincinnati Masters champion. Garcia, the 17th seed. She's a setup, but she is 5-3, so she'll be looking to close out soon. Anna Kalinskaya is through, 6-4, 6-3 against Rebecca Peterson. Elsewhere, if we look through what is going on, just pull out some. Ali Risk is a set and 5-3, which actually got match point on you from America. It's looking to make her way through. Alejandro Davidovich Fokina is a set and a break up on Yoshihito Nishioka. We have Veronika Kudermetova, who's a set and 3-1 up on Donna Vekic. Let's pull out some more for you. Seb Korda is a set down to Facundo Bagnis. Oh, well. Maria Sakkari. Ooh, she now break down the second, but a set up against Tatiana Maria. And Stefan Kozlov, Daniel Medvedev below us. They are a game apiece. And Kozlov, who was that? He was kind of the young sensation. So many people talking about him as a junior Kozlov, and then he just sort of disappeared and was overtaken. But he's got a point for 2-1. Here, Cerundolo is at love 30. He's trying to play it safe, keeping it off the backhand, keep it at the forehand side of the Argentine. Just placing that ball, isn't he, the Argentinian? But then the backhand is sliced into the nets, and Andy Murray has opportunities here to get the early break in the second set.
He's managed to do what he didn't do at the start of the first set, Andy Murray, and that was hold his very first service game of the set. So if he does get the break here, which he did get the first break in that first set, but it was of course the break back, whereas here it would be for the advantage.
He's squinting in the sunshine, although he's wearing the baseball cap the right way round. In comes Cerundolo into the corner. The lob is up from Murray. Cerundolo will run back. It will find the court. It will play the high ball from the back of the court into the middle of the court. Cerundolo keeps on the forehand side. Murray goes right into the forehand wing. Squash shot from Cerundolo. Murray with the forward down the line. The double-handed backhand from Cerundolo. Oh, it sits up, flattened out down the line from Murray. Scooped up cross court from Cerundolo. These are break points for Andy Murray to go 2-love up in the second. The drop shot from Cerundolo. In comes Murray. Scoops over, he's at the net. Can he pass him? Oh! Murray stretches out the racket, into the net he goes, looks down to sort of adjust his ankle strap and shoelace. So let's not dwell on that. The point goes to the Argentinian.
Another really physical point from both players' point of view. Cerundolo again choosing to go for the drop shot at the end of an extended rally. That time not, though, going for the lob. We've seen a few times, Gigi, he's gone drop shot lob, really made Andy work hard. Try and get those legs fatigued, and maybe that's a tactic for him and his team coming in. Maybe they've seen Andy talking about the cramps in the press and that he's struggling with that. Maybe it was kind of a long-term play. Go out at the start of the match, make him move a lot.
Yeah, make him work hard, keep him out there. See if it's a reoccurring issue. He's got a second opportunity to break here, Murray, for 2-love up in the second set. The winner of the US Open in 2012, runner-up here in 2008. Cerundolo goes to the backhand of Murray. It's a lovely service return. Internet off the back. Another backhand error from Cerundolo. And there's an early break for Andy Murray, who wipes some more sweat out of his right eye. It's a sweaty, hot, humid day, but he's got the break. He leads by a set and 2-love. So who are your predictions to lift the titles in a couple of weeks?
I think... Well, my fairy tale picks were Nick Kyrgios and Coco Gauff. My dream pick would be Serena Williams. Will it happen? I'm not all that sure, but who I actually think will win, I think the safest bets, we have to go with Swiatek in the women. I think Nadal or Medvedev would be a safer bets in the men's, but I think Nick's going to be dangerous. He's got the bit between his teeth, as we say. It's just whether he can keep everything going on in his personal life off court, as we just see Cerundolo come up with a massive forehand angle passing shot winner past Andy Murray in the first game of this, in the first point of this third game of the second set.
I think it is tough on predictions. I think we're going to get a real array.
I'm loving that the men's is as open as the women's. I think it makes it so interesting.
Yeah, yeah. Although I've gone for Medvedev. It's not very out there, is it? He's the world number one. He's defending champ. I've gone for Medvedev Nadal final. It's not adventurous, I admit. But I just... I mean, you can make cases for a few of them. But then Stefanos Tsitsipas, he's never been to the second week of the US Open. We forget things. We sort of think, oh, he could be number one. Yes, but he's never been to the second week here. Carlos Alcaraz has played so well the first part of this year. Is he ready? I don't know. Maybe. Casper Ruud could be number one. He's been to the final at the French. He does play so well in the hard courts, but is this his time? He starts against Kyle Edmund, who it's just so nice to see back playing. But yeah, it's more open. And I think something that we don't seem to have talked about a lot is that Nadal's looking to tie up Serena Williams at 23 Grand Slam singles titles.
Well, I think that'd break my heart just as she steps away from the sport. She's put on an equal playing field.
Right, so Murray wants to consolidate this break. They say it is not a break until you've consolidated it, so there is work to do. Can Cerundolo keep his head up, stay positive?
15-30.
From Andy there, just up to his team as he makes the unforced error on the backhand. Bit of scoreboard pressure here on this service game for Murray.
Just a little opening, little glimmer from Cerundolo. He got that top 10 win this year against Casper Ruud. Gave him a lot of confidence. David mentioned a couple of Cerundolos flying around in the rankings at the moment, so they're not competitive at home. They do encourage each other, but there's no competition within the brothers. Murray scoops up the double-handed backhand. It's very, very deep, a kind of slap of an inside-out forehand from Cerundolo, who nets, and he cannot believe it. He had a little opening there, and that's just been shut down.
30 on.
And a turn of Cerundolo this time to show some frustrations to his box. Not happy with that forehand that he missed there. Had half an opportunity, didn't he, on the Murray serve. Certainly was starting to put some pressure. Normally that's his favoured side, I think, from the back of the court. Cerundolo can cause some damage from that forehand.
He's a busy man, Cerundolo. He's also studying for an economics degree. He was at university, then he made the decision to go pro. He's 24 years of age, but he said he really loves studying and he loves maths. It's not some sentence I would ever say.
No.
Loves maths, so wanted to keep going, so he's keeping the online degree going.
Good for him.
14,
Yeah.
30.
I think more and more players do education on the side.
They do.
Yeah.
And the WTA have that wonderful system set up with Harvard. So you can go there, and I know Caroline Wozniacki did Johanna Konta do that? I think she may have.
I don't know if it's only Harvard or if I think there's a few different universities that you can do online degrees with, or
It's good, isn't it? And it's something to do. You guys spend a lot of time travelling, and yes, there are players that will play, I don't know, PlayStation. They want to watch Netflix, but others that want to do something else, and they can use those hours.
Yep.
Not sure I'd take up that option. I don't know.
Yeah, for me there is a lot of dead time, but I was tired. I know the people that do degrees, sometimes it's, you know, it's tiring when you've got a long match or a big match. You know, maybe you've got an exam and you're in the semi-final of a tournament.
Yeah, exactly. It's a tough way. It's a juggling act. Deuce. There was a little opening for Cerundolo, but Murray shut that down. He slices Cerundolo the backhand cross-court. Double-hander cross-court from Murray. They're exchanging backhands. The one-hander of Cerundolo. Oh, he nets again! The unforced error count on the backhand side continues to increase, and it's game point Murray for 3-love in the second.
And it's a tactic he's used right from the start, Andy Murray, in this match, to just pepper that Cerundolo backhand, to not give him time on the forehand. And eventually it'll break down, and we've seen it time and time again do just that.
So a point for the consolidation of the break. The sun is now burning through the clouds, shining down on all the courts, all in action today. We'll keep you across as much as we possibly can with Serena Williams to come tonight live. Every ball on 5 Live. Forehand middle of the court from Murray. Another error from Cerundolo, who is ruining that little opportunity he had in the backhand that went into the net. And for Murray, It's all good so far as the Union Jack flies in the crowd and we look up to the beautiful blue skies above Louis Armstrong. But Kosnemi, importantly for Murray, he has consolidated his break for the 3-love lead.
Yeah, it's an important start here to that second set, Andy Murray, just to send the message to his opponent. He's not taking his foot off the gas here in the second set. You see ice towel straight back on round his neck, immediately trying to keep that body temperature down. Andy Murray.
I think the ice towel is wonderful because it's so basic. With all the technology we have, exactly. You see some people wearing these amazing high-tech ice vests. I mean, that is just a towel with ice in it with some tape around it.
So simple, so effective.
And it works. You mentioned the air conditioning unit, they kind of stick up their tops and wherever else they can put it to get, but this is what they go back to. I do like those little ice vests. Sometimes you see people that bring them out, but
yeah, you see some players, they still just like the old school ice bags as well, don't they? Just to kind of, you can almost do like a bit of an ice massage when it's an ice bag. You can
pop it on your head, your thighs, anything where you can.
We saw Dan Evans in Washington. He was almost using it as a hat at the change of ends, just balancing it on top of his head.
Cool the head down. Everything follows. Time. So the ice towel has been put back in its box and it rests underneath the bench of Andy Murray. Oh, it's a wonderful day, isn't it? Sun is shining, the crowds are in. We know the night sessions have sold out. That news came through fairly shortly after Serena Williams announced this would be her farewell tour. She didn't exactly say it would be, but it is, if you see what I mean.
We just assumed, didn't she? Because she said, I'm about to retire, and right before US Open, so you would assume that
some random 250 and some random. No, it's.
Well, I hope so.
No. Okay, we've got to talk about the fact that it's coming to an end.
Petkovic retiring. She said, this is basically my final tournament. She said, I'll probably play one more in Europe just to be closer to family and friends so everybody can come and watch
And Christina
my final
McHale?
match. But yeah, Christina McHale has already retired.
Qualifying.
She's walked away from the sport. I feel like a lot of people that were maybe on the edge of retiring kind of tried to extend their careers because of COVID and they wanted to keep going. So I think now everyone's back playing. We're going to actually see quite a big chunk of.
And I think also that time during COVID, they did other things and some realised there was a life outside tennis.
Yeah, Christina said, she actually said to Asia Mohammed, when you know, you know. Like, it wasn't a long-term thing. I don't hate the sport. I just know that now's the time for me to move on and do something else.
Must be lovely if you have that moment of clarity, because a lot of athletes, people in the world don't.
Yeah,
but to sort of wake up and think, you know what, I think we're done here.
Yeah,
it's quite nice.
Ready for something new.
Ready for something new, because I think this thing, as a tennis player, you've got a whole nother life to live, which is scary, but I think also exciting. But Andy Murray's keeping this tennis life going for as long as possible. Metal hips and all. Age of 35, as we've mentioned. This year, though, he's done well. He's 20 wins, 14 matches. Now, this is the most matches Andy Murray has played in a year since 2016. That's a huge positive.
Yeah, and I agree with, I agree with Lendl, as if that matters, but I think this year, this is the best I've seen Andy move for a while. And Lendl was saying it this morning to Leon Smith upstairs. I was earwigging. He was saying he just thinks he's moving so good. He said he's moving like old school Andy,
which is really, really good to see. Let's just hope that the cramping stays away. These squeaks you can hear are the shoes of Murray drawing an error from the Argentinian, who looks a little bit frustrated. His actual Cerundolo, you know what his dream job is? Not tennis player.
Mathematician.
I mean, you would think so. No, singer.
Thank you.
Oh.
Dream job would be
Talking
to be
of singers, what did you do last night, Gigi?
Words I never thought I would utter. I went to see Harry Styles in concert. Age-wise,
kind of in with the crowd.
I was missing the feather boas, and I was kind of in the older age bracket. I wasn't the oldest, and I should say I'm not a fan. A friend rang, said, meet me in an hour. I've got 2 tickets. You know what really hooked me in? It was at Madison Square Garden, and I've never been.
Are you now a fan
of Madison Square Garden? Yeah. No, it was a wonderful. I only knew one song, 1530 on the Cerundolo serve. It was the one that's been at #1 for sort of ever in the UK, and he's a great performer. I have to say.
Were you a proud Brit watching him up there in Madison Square Garden?
Proud mother. Yes. No, I was a proud Brit. The screaming was. I've never seen so many women in one place. That's the first thing. One woman walked past me. I said to my friend, "Why is she dressed as a slice of pizza?" And she said she's a watermelon because one of his songs has
Watermelon sugar.
There we go. I didn't know that, you see. And so she was dressed as a slice of watermelon. No, it was awful. She came to a concert as a watermelon slice. I mean, but whatever it takes. But no, it was wonderful. I did feel old. I think that was my midlife crisis.
You felt like Andy feels sometimes on the tour.
Yeah, I did. But if that's my midlife crisis, that's fine. It was fun. Opportunity now for Murray to go a double break up on Cerundolo. Just feeling my age as we start to. So Murray telling himself to come on, wipes a bead of sweat away, just leans forward a little bit. That sort of the heavy feet, he sort of plods foot to foot. Forehand through the middle court, sits up. It's sat up mid-court and high. It is missed by Cerundolo. He cannot find the court right now. And if a break is good, a double break is even better. And it's exactly what Andy Murray has got. And he leads by 4 games to love.
Yeah, and you can hear the fist pump there for Andy, pumping himself up. The crowd's gone a little bit more quiet. I think there was such massive climatic finish to that first set. There was so much drama, Gigi. We had Andy hit a drop shot. Cerundolo thought he got it up. The referee didn't see it. Then they played the replay on the big screen. The crowd were booing. Cerundolo then gave Andy the point. He then, after that moment, actually was love 30 down on serve. Completely turned the match around. Came back all the way to 5-all. Andy just sort of rode the wave. Managed to finally get the set in the bag done and dusted. But it was just such a big amount of energy used, I think, for both players. So maybe no surprise that there's been a bit of a dip in energy. And thankfully for Andy Murray fans, it hasn't been from his side of the net.
Daniel Medvedev's break-up on Stefan Kozlov on the Arthur Ashe. 3-2 he leads. Tatiana Maria has taken the second set against Maria Sakkari. Sakkari the third seed, so they've split sets. That's going to a decider. JJ Wolf, the American, is 2 sets up on 16th seed Roberto Bautista Agut. Seb Korda a set down, but on serve leads 5-4 against Facundo Bagnis. I'm assuming Caroline Garcia has won because she's on the verge of it and her match has disappeared. She's the Cincinnati winner, coming into this with a lot of confidence and playing so well. Maxime Cressy, Marton Fucsovics has just taken the call. We've got Tommy Paul, who has split sets with Zapata Morales. And Kyle Edmund, Casper Ruud has just taken to the court. That's court 12. We'll keep an eye on that one for you. Casper Ruud is in this mix of 5 players that could end as world number 1, which would be incredible, slightly surreal and a little bit weird. It could happen, but he's got to get to the final if nothing else. And Kyle Edmund, we're just happy that after, I couldn't believe it's been nearly 2 years away from the tour. This is like a whole new career for Kyle Edmund. It's like a second career.
Yeah, I was actually hoping to have a bit of a chat with Kyle and with Andy, actually, because they both use the same physio. For Kyle, he's kind of credited. His name's Bill Knowles. He's based in Philadelphia. He only sees 1 or 2 clients at a time, and Kyle went out to see him, I think it was back in February, with Colin Beecher, who's here coaching and being coached by. And yeah, I was hoping to sit down and have a chat with them, because Jenny Brady on the women's side, she's really struggling with injury. She's feet and knees and all sorts. So I said, well, Kyle's spoken amazingly about this guy that he saw. Andy saw him as well, and so maybe it'd be a good route for her to try and go down, because, as you say, 2 years away from the tour, to finally find the key to getting back. I think it could be worth maybe a visit for her too.
Consolidation for Murray holds 15, leads 5-love. We talked about change of ends, change of clothes and toilet breaks, and while this has been a quick set, David Law has had enough time to change his kit, so he will be back in. But we allow a little bit more time in the commentary box, a little bit more generous. So 5-love, it's all going the way of Andy Murray, but you have seen the body language change from Cerundolo. The shoulders have gone down, more and more unforced errors off the Argentinian's racket, and it has allowed Murray to ease his way to 5-love. So much tennis taking place today. We'll be coming off air on Sports Extra following the Murray match, but we'll keep you up to date with updates on 5Live. There's that hour of 5Live tennis. Naomi Brody, Kim Clijsters, David Law, Russell Fuller, we're all together, and we're going to be hearing from Serena Williams, Nema Raducanu, and all sorts of people. That's between 9 and 10 o'clock on 5Live, and then I think it's around midnight. We're bringing you Serena and everything. I mean, she's got 100 people. I mean, fair enough. She's got 100 people, and these aren't just going to be any old 100 people. I mean, this is going to. it's full of A-listers and film stars and all this sort of stuff at the US Open, especially the latter stages. But this is going to be sort of super A-list this evening.
I will say she also does have a very big family.
But
She has a
there's
lot
100.
of siblings.
Yeah,
But no,
that's
I mean,
about 20.
I'm absolutely going to cry.
Oh, heavens.
Without doubt. And so I think...
Win or lose, you're going to cry.
I think so. I think during the ceremony I'll cry. I've cried each and every match that she's played. When they interviewed her after her match in Canada, and she cried and she said, "I'm not very good at goodbyes, but goodbye," and her voice kind of cracked, and I was kind of crying along with her at home. I was like, I just love her. I'm so sad
you
that
with
she's
us this
stepping away. I'm not, but I think players have access to tickets on Arthur Ashe, and I'm here with Asia Mohammed, so I've messaged Asia and said,
If you're any kind of friend to me, you
Yes.
will get me. It was one of those, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm your +1. Forget your coach that you're here with. That's my
Asia,
seat.
I'll just take your ticket. You don't need to go.
Yeah. So I think I'll be hopefully courtside. It's a piece of tennis history, isn't it? It's
Yeah, it's
50 now.
yeah, win or lose.
and I hope she's going to win because I just wanted to get that bit further. And I then more people can watch her as well. People that have bought night ticket sessions for Wednesday will get the chance to have a final glimpse as well.
And doubles, we've still got doubles.
Yeah.
There's part of me
They're going to
that-
have to put the doubles on Arthur Ashe, aren't they? Because it's going to be too crowded even for Louis Armstrong.
Well, there's part of me that thinks, look,
50 now.
and I don't know if you've accepted this. She's not going to win the singles title. Are we on that together? Can you?
I think I know it deep down. I haven't accepted
haven't
it because I'm
accepted
just
it.
holding on to the dream. Have you
Not
seen the film Wimbledon?
Yes.
See, he did it.
Okay.
He did it. If he can do
Did
it,
he? Okay.
Serena can do it.
Okay. Right. So Naomi Brody's just compared Serena Williams' Last Dance to Wimbledon, the movie. Go and watch
Best
it now.
film.
Yeah, okay. It wouldn't be in my top 10. 15 all back into the net from Murray.
30.
But should she, I'll say should she, not win the singles title just for you for now,
Yeah.
until your acceptance is there. There's part of me that thinks, wouldn't it be wonderful if her last ever match was alongside Venus?
Yeah. Because we don't know what Venus is doing in terms of her own retirement, do we? She hasn't mentioned anything.
But surely this is her last US Open. Surely.
I don't
Well,
know.
actually, you're not good at acceptance when it comes to Williams.
But
so
I'm
probably
just
the wrong
thinking,
person to ask.
would she not want the same goodbye?
No, I don't think she would. I think it's all different for Venus. Do you know what I mean? I think 30-15, Cerundolo here. He's trying to get a game on the board in this second set because it's been all Murray to this point. But Cerundolo's dictating this point, moving Murray from side to side on the baseline. Inside out forehand from the Argentinian, long from Murray, and it's game point. No, because I think Venus's career has been sort of on that going down trajectory for a while. That I think she'll slip away. I might be
I
wrong.
think it would have been nice for them to do the ceremony of them both together because they have been that close throughout their whole careers, haven't they? They've been so intertwined.
But then it's also Serena's moment. It's a tough one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Cerundolo, he's got a game on the board, so Murray now at 5-1 serves for the set and a 2 sets to lovely. But we are led to believe that win or lose, there'll be a big ceremony, a big thank you, a big all sorts of bits and pieces tonight. Well, which would make sense when you've got 100 people in. Do it. And if you've got the Obamas coming in,
It's going to be interesting because the second night match is actually a great match
it's going to be
tonight.
very flat, I think.
It's Kyrgios and
I think
Kokkinakis.
it's
That would normally be the
popcorn
sellout
match.
the sellout popcorn match.
I think it's going to be flat.
At least for the first set, everyone's going to need to recompose
win or
themselves like
lose.
me.
Well, no, you'll be long gone by then.
You'll just see me from up here. You'll see me
In
sat
a-
down there bawling
in a
my eyes
mess.
out. And it's,
And the cameras will say, "There's this woman." I'll be like, "Oh no!"
I really hope they don't put me on the big
No.
screen. I'm
Well,
an ugly
don't
crying.
bawl then. No, like if we hear someone crying, I'll be like, "Oh no!" Know who that is? 5-1 Murray serving for 2 sets. Lovely. The forehand slap back from Cerundolo. Looked to drop it over Murray. Doesn't quite make it, but Cerundolo had got himself forward. So love 50. You're still got to get the job done wherever you are in this situation. Camila Rosario's come through against Lee in 3 sets. Zapata Morales is now a break up on Tommy Paul in the third. They've split the first 2. Nava and Millman, who split the first 2 sets in their match. Alejandro Davidovich Fokina's 2 sets up on Yoshihito Nishioka as Murray goes very deep with his forehand. It comes back edge of the baseline from Cerundolo, puts a backhand down the line, forehand up the line for Murray. Cerundolo inside out. Ooh, that's a looping tricky ball. Sits over, short ball. Cerundolo's into the net, and it was too hot for Murray to handle.
We've said how often Murray's just had to ride the wave in this match because Cerundolo has been in and out, up and down with that level. We saw it when Murray tried to serve out the first set, the first time I've asked him, didn't happen. Cerundolo lifting his level and again just starting to be more aggressive, dictating with that forehand.
Maria Sakkari 3-love up in the decider against Tatiana Maria, having reset herself after losing the second set. And Daniil Medvedev has a point 4-5-2 in the first set against Stefan Kozlov. So looking to extend his lead, the defending champion. Lob up for Murray, who smashed his way back onto the racket of Cerundolo. Well, he got lucky that the Argentinian just didn't expect that ball to come back at him, so didn't find the court.
Yeah, so casual on that smash there. Murray right on top of the net. Maybe not bouncing it quite up high as he was hoping to, but got away with it.
Cerundolo's like, what? Oh, okay. But took him by surprise. Ooh, just seen a blistering backhand from Daniil Medvedev. Our box is on the Arthur Ashe Stadium, so we can look down and see the action. We've got monitors bringing us the Murray game. So 15-30. Cerundolo looking to keep this set alive for a little bit longer. Murray though with the double break. Cerundolo goes drop shot. Here comes Murray, scoops it up, nets, break points. And again, we talk. It's just the mindset is different, whatever the scoreline is, when you're looking to close out the set.
It is, and not only for Andy is the mindset different, but also for his opponent. I just feel, has this been the dip in energy that Cerundolo had at the start of the set? Is Andy just having it now a little bit? It's tough, isn't it, to have been on court for over an hour and a half. It's tough to keep that mental intensity, physical intensity at the top level throughout. You're at some point going to have a dip, and maybe this is Murray's right now.
First break points of the set for Cerundolo. Good serve out wide for Murray. Very deep return for the Argentinian. Gets a shorter ball. Plays the backhand down the line. Cerundolo with the forehand, looking to break for 2-5. Slides into the backhand side. That one sits up for Murray to go inside, and very heavy forehand for Murray. Does the damage. Saves the first of the break points. The umbrellas are...
30-40.
They're like little sort of silver orbs, aren't they?
Yeah, they're not rain umbrellas, are they? I think they are like
These are special
specific
heat
UV sun umbrellas.
They're like an astronaut suit.
Yeah.
Best way I can sort of describe it. And they really do stand out. Right, second opportunity for Cerundolo, having his breakout year this year. Although the first round exits Montreal and Cincy, up until that point though, he's cracked some milestones, the young man. And he's got the break, so he's going to keep this set going for a little bit longer. Murray leads 5-2. Cerundolo doesn't give a lot away, does he? Looks a tad forlorn, the shoulders are down a little bit. But look, this year for him, broke top 100 in February, first Masters semi-final in March, first top 10 win against Casper Ruud, and then he got his first title at 250 level. He's 24 years of age. He's doing everything the right way. He's progressing as he'd want to progress.
Absolutely. He's a rising star on the ATP Tour, isn't he? We've had, I think, quite a lot of them coming up now. I don't know whether it's because they're starting to see the door open a little bit at the top now. It was almost... I felt at times there was almost too much respect. We saw the match with Zverev before he had that horrific injury at French Open. How many opportunities did he have to take the set against Nadal? And he just... It's one thing being good enough, but do you have the mental belief to get yourself across the finish line? And I think for so long, and rightly deserved, the top three held that because of what they've achieved, of course. But I mean, these guys, he's 24, he's grown up with those guys at the top of the game. To then step on court and play against them, we're talking about Serena, it's the same thing, isn't it? It's like meeting your favourite celebrity, but then having to go out and beat them at what they do best. It's tough to get your head around mentally. We're just seeing Andy having a kit change on court, but he's changing his ankle braces, socks and shoes. So maybe just getting a bit uncomfortable, trying to close this second set out. But
Can't think of anything worse than squelching around in sweaty shoes.
It's horrible.
And socks.
Yeah. So he should hopefully leave the wet pair out in the sun to dry out a little bit in case he needs to have another change throughout the match. But yeah, I think that's why the window's starting to open at the top now. I think they're starting to believe maybe with Nadal's injuries and Djokovic not being able to play as many matches as he would normally like to in a normal year, maybe they're just starting to actually get that belief that now might be the time for changing of the guards.
Well, as you mentioned, there's 5 people that can walk away as the world number 1 on the men's side. Daniil Medvedev's set points 5-2, 40 love. That's for the defending champion against Stefan Kozlov on Arthur Ashe, and he seals it with an ace out wide. So that's the first set done and dusted for Medvedev. We'll keep an eye on everything that's going following Medvedev. There'll be Coco Gauff, and don't forget that you will have updates throughout the day on 5 Live, and we'll be back from 9 o'clock. 5 Live Tennis, an hour. I'm a bit worried that Naomi now might cry in that hour because we're dedicating a big chunk of it to Serena Williams. So stay tuned for that. Cerundolo 2-5 serving. Can he extend this? That was a lovely backhand and a pick up from the other. That was a beautiful play, starting with that low backhand cross court.
Yeah, it's one of the most aggressive backhands I've seen Cerundolo hit throughout this match, actually. It's almost like he just said, I've had enough of missing on this shot. I'm just going to go for it even more. Yeah, Andy did well to stay in the rally, but fantastic soft hands from Cerundolo on the half volley drop shot winner.
I think he's realised that the baseball cap would be better used the right way round, which it now is. So it's now protecting him from the sun rather than keeping the sweat off his neck. Forehand through the middle of the court for Murray. So it's 15 love, 2-5. Murray had that cushion of a double break, but that's back-to-back aggressive backhands.
It's funny, isn't it? Suddenly really stepping in on the front foot. He's taken that almost as a half volley. He's got up to it so quickly. Andy's shot just landed on the service line, and that's what Andy needs to watch. We've seen these swings of momentums of the last 10 points, Cerundolo having won 8 now, but Andy just needs to stay aggressive when he's up in the match. That's what happened when he went 5-2, 5-3 up in that first set as well. Can't become too passive when you've got there by being so aggressive.
Maybe he can now just see the baseball cap doing what it should do. Serve out wide, the second serve, and that's 40 love. And something I love about the game of tennis, the momentum shifts and how quickly they can come.
And how important they are in the match as well. It's like this unseen force that both players can feel. We can feel watching, the crowd can feel, but it plays a massive part into your level.
Yeah, it really does. Cerundolo looking to get a clean hold here. It leaves Murray with another opportunity to close out the set because he had the double break. Cerundolo missed off the first serve. Murray takes the second serve early with the backhand, trying to find the angle. The slice sits up nicely for Murray to whip it into the corner and get himself on the board in game number 8.
And he's quiet here, Murray, isn't he? I always feel like he's biding his time, he's just saving his energy, and maybe knows he's not going to get through this game. His opponent's serving at 40 love up now, 40-15. Maybe thinking ahead to his next service game already, Murray. Or just slowly trying to chip away.
Cerundolo with a white baseball cap, white shorts, different shades of blue on his collarless top. It's the inside and forehand. He's got points for 3-5 here. Then the back. Oh, it's been the backhand this game. 3 beautiful backhands off the double hander from Cerundolo. So he holds serves. He'll once again ask the question of Andy Murray. Can he close it out? And can he take a 2 sets to love lead? 7-5, 5-3. These are first matches of the day. So much going on. Following this, Simona Halep. A lot of people have tipped Halep under the guidance of Patrick Mouratoglou, winner in Canada, to come through and win this. I mean, for me, it's almost stick a pin in a big chunk of the players.
I think Halep's a good call.
Yeah.
You know, I've heard so many players say I've never seen her happier than what she is at the moment. You know, she's just
she's
such good energy about herself.
She's in a meaty part of the draw. But you've got to beat the best or beat the rest to be the best as it goes. The ball drops over, Murray comes in, slams it into the corner, the lob is up, the smash goes down, Cerundolo goes one way, the ball goes the other, and Murray is 3 points from the set.
And a bit of luck there for Murray. Cerundolo just catching the top of the net tape on the return. Murray with enough time to get up to it, using it as a short ball. Nice easy overhead put away. Just what you want at the start of a service game when you're trying to get the set done.
Where are we? An hour and 48 on the clock. It is nearly 1 o'clock in the afternoon local time. Murray misses the first serve, looking to go down the tee. Ball girl scurries forward, just Dave and Amy were talking about earlier, the electronic line calling, but we still got ball, girls and boys. 15 love. 5-3 for Andy Murray, whose world ranking sits at 49 right now. Keeping it on the forehand side, Murray with the inside-out forehand. Now Murray has to stretch and play the one-hander, and then the inside-out forehand from Cerundolo. He's peppering the backhand wing of Cerundolo. Now he switches it to the forehand of the Argentinian, and he draws the error, and he's 2 points from the set.
30 love.
Murray just trying to stay in the shadows, the back of the court. Wise.
Yeah, going back there for probably 15 of his 20-odd seconds. Any opportunity to get that body temperature down.
2 points from a 2 sets to love lead. We'll keep an eye on everything else that's taking place. Maria Sakkari points down for 5 love in the third against Tatiana Maria. Sakkari, the third seed. Murray again missing down the tee, down the centre line of the court. On a hot day, it's not one of the hottest that we're going to have. But that heat increasing down at court level. The sun shining off the surface as Murray gets distracted by the sun, twists the racket, drops the ball, apologises, resets himself, serves down the tee. The off backhand return from Cerundolo. Cerundolo scampers to his backhand side, so bunts it cross court. Backhand double-handed cross court angle for Murray. Murray with his backhand, and Cerundolo runs down, goes inside in. Murray slaps the forehand cross court. More zip on that from Cerundolo. The ball sits up for Murray. Backhand cross court from the Argentinian, netted by Murray, and Cerundolo is on the board.
Just needs to stay within touching distance, Cerundolo. This game, see if the scoreboard pressure trying to serve the set out is going to be enough just to produce a few extra unforced errors. You kind of feel that's been his mistake in the first and second set, is giving Andy that cushion, because when he hasn't been able to serve the sets out the first time of asking, if Cerundolo wasn't that far behind, he'd maybe have a bit of an opportunity to have moved ahead.
30-15, so debut in the main draw for Cerundolo here after falling in qualifying last time out. An ace from Murray down the tee, finally gets the tee serve. These are the opportunities he's been looking for. Set points for Andy Murray to go 2 sets up in this first round match. Listening to Sports Extra, it is Monday afternoon. Or evening, I imagine now, back home. Just clicked round past 6 o'clock. First to 2 set points for Murray on his serve at 5-3, 40-15. Serve down the tee, blocked backhand, sits up high. Murray with his forehand into the corner. Forehand comes cross court from Cerundolo. Cerundolo with his double-handed backhand skews it, and there it is. There is the pump of the racket fist. And Andy Murray looks a little bit weary, but he leads by 2 sets to love. We're now going to have a comfort break in the commentary box. Naomi's going to take a comfort break. David's had his comfort break, so quite a long comfort break.
Before I go,
yes,
someone very kindly on Twitter just confirmed to me it was in 2016 that Laura and I played. She won the first set 7-6, and then that was the full body cramping. 6-3, 6-4, and that was my experience of full body cramping. So it's 2016, which scarily is not very.
It's not that long ago.
Yes, it is.
It doesn't seem that long.
8 years. 6. Oh, it's not such bad maths.
It's not that long ago. Is it? Go and have a comfort break.
6 years ago. I'm going to go and have a maths lesson off Cerundolo.
I'm going to switch you off. Right. So Naomi Bowe's been switched off, but she will be switched back on very shortly. We're juggling things around in the commentary box. We're keeping an eye on everything that's taking place. So Medvedev with his first set 6-2, I mentioned that. JJ Wolf is 2 games away from defeating the 16th seed Roberto Bautista Agut. He leads 6-4, 6-4. 4-2, and Seb Corder's leveled things up against Facundo Bagnes, set a piece to the second set on a tiebreak. Hello, David Law.
Hello.
How are you?
Do you know what I want to do? And we can talk about this now that Naomi's left. Is I want to get Naomi and Laura, who's going to be part of our team as well this week, together to talk about this moment.
I saw your face when Naomi was saying, Laura's going, she can't do that. She can't have that drink. She can't do that.
Exactly. I wonder how
we're going to make them relive it.
Is it 6 years on, do you reckon?
No. Have you ever had full body cramp, David?
No. I have had usual non-athlete cramp, which is the type that you get when you're sitting in the cinema and you haven't moved for too long.
Like the foot.
Yeah,
Gets
and then
the
when you
leg.
and then you it suddenly goes and you suddenly go and you just suddenly that you're trying to hang on to anybody to get it straight somehow.
It's horrendous though, isn't it? You see it sort of spread through the body, and they cannot do anything. They just we see tennis players just fall over because the body, it's almost in rigor mortis. It's completely stiff, and it's horrendous. And as Murray's saying, it's also in his case perplexing.
I remember Andy Roddick saying that he'd never really suffered much in the way of cramp in his on court, but one time he played a match, I think it might have been here actually, and again this is where they tend to get it the worst, and he said he played his match, really grueling match, but he got through it. Suddenly the cramp started to come on while he was lining up in the lobby of his hotel to change his key, and suddenly he just had to lie on the ground in the middle of the lobby and just start trying to straighten his leg out. Ask passers-by to help.
When it happens, it happens. So David Law's in the hot seat. David, you are on commentary duties for the third set, and I will keep you company until Naomi comes back from her comfort break.
Marvellous. Well, Andy Murray's doing pretty well here, folks. 7-5, 6-3 against the 24th seed. First point of the third set won by Cerundolo, who's got to get his act together from the start of a set, because that's twice now he's got himself into a hole. He was 5-2 down in the first set. He nearly turned that around. Then he was 5-love down in the second set, and he got back to 5-3, and it got a bit hairy for Andy Murray at that point. But I don't think it's been I don't want to say an unprofessional performance from Cerundolo, but he will be really frustrated at his inability to be consistent at all in this match as Murray hits his forehand down the centre. Murray chips his backhand, comes in behind it, lovely move, and then a forehand delicately played, cushioned stop volley cross court from Murray on the forehand to get back to 15-all.
Maria Sakkari has won 6-love. She bagels Tatiana Maria in the third set after dropping the second, so the third seed has gone through. We're keeping an eye. Daniil Medvedev, Stefan Kozlov, very early stages of the second set, but Medvedev has taken that first set. Mentioned that Caroline Garcia, Cincinnati winner, went through. Also Matteo Berrettini, a few people have tipped him to win this tournament. 13th seed, missed Wimbledon due to COVID. He is a breakup 2-1 on Nicolas Jarry in the first set.
Yeah, well, it's a land of opportunity, isn't it, really,
Who
this
are your
tournament?
picks?
I'm the same as you on the men's side. Medvedev to beat Nadal in the final is because, and look, I know Medvedev hasn't won that many matches recently, and Nadal hasn't played that many matches recently. But who else is there? I mean, I don't think that you can. If you look at the winners of the two most recent big tournaments, Pablo Carreño Busta and then Borna Coric, both fabulous achievements, but I don't see either one of them winning this.
Berrettini?
I don't think he's had any great form coming in, really.
Carlos Alcaraz?
He's a very good player, I think, Berrettini, and I do think he's somebody I naturally underestimate. But I don't think he's been winning that many matches of late.
Alcaraz, who has been winning a lot of matches this year?
Hasn't been as convincing as he was in the spring, but he is the one I will always think is always capable, personally. So I've got him in the semis. Backhand into the net from Cerundolo, and this is a breakpoint chance from Murray immediately here, 30-40. Naomi is already back. My word, the speed. That is impressive. Well, we'll just watch this breakpoint for Andy Murray, and then we'll be able to reconvene. Big serve from Cerundolo. Comes back though from Murray. If he could get a break on the board here, he'd be happy, but he can't. Forehand cross court goes long, and Murray's now ranting in the direction of Ivan Lendl.
I've just seen 3 margarita pizzas walk up the stairs of the Arthur Ashe Stadium, so with Naomi returned, might have a comfort break of my own.
The margarita pizzas have walked up. They were being carried, I'm assuming. There are other kinds of margaritas around here as well, aren't there? It's you can get anything you like in New York. It's advantage Murray, so he's got a second breakpoint chance. Naomi's back in the seat. Gigi's gone off to get a margarita or two. Not sure whether it is the pizza or the drink, but anyway, maybe both. It's advantage Murray. So the serve goes that one onto the backhand, blasted back by Murray. Can he get the break at the second time of asking? Backhand on the centre, Cerundolo. Forehand cross court, Murray. Cerundolo races and puts it long. Murray strikes. Murray leads 2-0 and by a game to love. And he's been helped out a little bit by his opponent today, but still, this is a really good performance, Naomi Brodie, from Andy Murray.
It really has been, hasn't it? All the way through so far for Andy, and I don't want to jinx him because the match is by no means done. This is a best of 5-set tennis. We've seen it happen so many occasions, but again, he's just given himself that cushion. It's what Cerundolo has maybe not done well in each of those 2 sets. As much as he's been fighting hard, he's just given Andy that cushion, hasn't he? So when Andy hasn't been able to serve it out the first time of asking, he's had the opportunity to steady himself, come back and try again, and get it in his pocket. But really impressive from Andy. So aggressive out there. He's actually taking his drink now to where he leaves his towel, so I'm just going to keep my eye on that, because hopefully that doesn't mean that he's starting to feel any cramps. He maybe just wants to stay even further hydrated. Maybe he's going to have a drink at after one game and still, instead of waiting until the set break. But
well, as you were saying in that match you had against Laura that time, you were trying to have a little drink after, well, every point if you possibly could, and at least if Murray has it down his end of the court, maybe he can use it if he needs to. Here's a forehand down the centre by Cerundolo. It's 2-0 Murray, 1 game to love Murray with a break of serve. Now he chips his backhand cross court, playing really well, I think, Murray. There's a clear-eyed look to him at the moment. He knows what he's trying to do. Backhand volley off the top of the net by Cerundolo. He gets lucky, it ball dribbles over for a clean winner. Not supposed to look ahead in the draws because tennis players never like to see it. What are you seeing there, Naomi?
There's something after the point. Andy looked down onto the court. I don't know whether each of them are maybe sweating onto the court. Maybe he wants a towel to just wipe it from back behind the baseline, or sometimes even you see it dripping off the front of their cap, don't you, when they're bouncing the ball, ready to serve.
And this is the sort of surface, and as a ball girl has come out with a towel actually to dry it up.
It's quite a puddle, actually.
You know, any moisture on this surface, if your rubber soles collide with that moisture, you could be flying.
Yeah.
And she's done a good job. So 1-love Murray, love 15 on his serve at the moment. I was just about to say that tennis players don't thank you for looking ahead in their draw when they haven't even finished the match they're on, but I can do what I like. He can't hear. And Andy Murray, if he does win this match, would play either John Millman or Emilio Nava in the second round. Here's a forehand swiped away by Murray to get back to 15-all. Hit with real authority from the middle of the court. John Millman, of course, the man who beat Roger Federer here a few years ago in a match that involved a lot of sweat. Because even Roger Federer was sweating.
Yeah. That's when you know it's really humid.
Never seen him sweat like that before. Looking up into the rafters of the Arthur Ashe Stadium at the moment. Huge Stars and Stripes flag is fluttering in the breeze from the beams that are up there. Big metal white beams of the roof that keep it all up here as the forehand's crashed long and cross-court by Cerundolo, and the voice of celebration and encouragement to himself is Murray's 30-15.
I mean, I almost was going to say he's had a really good intensity about him today, Andy. That's never an issue of his, is it? He's always intense emotionally and mentally out there, but is it the positivity, maybe a bit more positive self-talk back to himself, those commands that we can hear?
He's looked on it from very early in this match, and there haven't been, I know he's lost leads, but I feel like his opponent has caused those shifts. I don't think he's lost his form at all in this match. Yeah, I agree with you. There's the positivity, and Ivan Lendl is around. Maybe he's part of that. So many good vibes, so much good history between the two of them. Backhand hit cross court by Cerundolo. Chip back Backhand cross court by Murray, then down the line he redirects with the two-handed as Murray. Now he opens up the forehand, goes down the middle, puts plenty of beef behind that. Cerundolo's backhand can't handle it.
14-15.
Again, I just feel that Andy's taking that forehand a split second earlier out there today, and I think that's what's causing Cerundolo a lot of the problems, because he's always done so well at leaning on that backhand, hasn't he, Andy Murray? He can change direction. He feel like he could hit a coin if you put it down on the court. He's so accurate with it, but to take the time away from the opponent when they've defended onto his forehand as well, where do you go from there?
Yeah. This to consolidate the break at the start of the third set that Andy Murray's earned already, and he did that at the start of the second set, and it put him in a really good position. This one he rolls into the net
40-30.
for a double fault. And he's stomping around, frustrated with that one, but still got game point for 2-love lead. Murray serving, trying to go for the bullets down the middle, but just puts it long. 2 hours and 4 minutes the players have been on court. Murray leading 7-5, 6-3, and now 1-love. So very much in charge, Murray. This has been an excellent performance so far, but that's 2 double faults in a row.
Use.
Come out of nowhere. Funnily, that was a comment that Ivan Lendl had said upstairs before the match, was how aggressive Murray started to try and be behind those second serves, trying to keep the racket head speed up a little bit more, not just pushing it in.
Is there anything you don't know about what Ivan Lendl's thinking?
It was completely by
You
chance.
might-
I sound like such a professional
An
today.
amazing bit of journalistic instinct, getting every little story out of Ivan Lendl. Forehand hit away by Murray, and now Murray's roaring as he's trying to exert himself even more in this match.
Murray.
I'd love to see that. He's not got the frustration out when he's hit the double faults. He's waited and almost done it in a positive way, hasn't he, after he's won the next point. Huge come on there.
Point for 2-love for Murray. He's leading 2-love as well. Here he is with a forehand. Cross-court just clips the top of the net, but it's still going, Murray. Now he hits his forehand down the centre. Terrible backhand by Cerundolo, as you can hear from his voice. And Andy Murray takes full advantage. 2-love, 2-love. He's been helped out a bit, hasn't he, when things have got tight. I mean, that shot there from Cerundolo should not happen.
No, and in the second set, Gigi and I were saying there was one game, but again, when Cerundolo was down on the scoreboard, it's almost like he can then free up. There was one game, he hit 3 or 4 really nice, aggressive backhands, won the point on them all. But when it's kind of back level, it maybe that slight more hesitation causing the unforced errors.
Yeah. Got one other theory about Cerundolo that I want to run by you, as Murray watches him come in and hit a shoulder-high forehand and swat it away cross-court for a winner, Cerundolo. You know, nobody had heard too much about him a year ago or so. Suddenly he's the 24th seed. He's playing a former champion, but on the board, Cerundolo's supposed to win this.
Yep.
Is that a problem for him? Could that make it more difficult to play in a free manner throughout this match, as he serves down the centre? Forehand return down the middle by Murray. Massive forehand by Cerundolo. Goodness me, that was an aggressive shot. And Cerundolo hits a clean winner, 30-love.
Absolutely. I think it's something that Emma Raducanu, for example, has had to deal with this year. It's the change of target when you're out there in the match. You know, the target's on the back of Cerundolo, isn't it? Because, as you say, he's favourite on paper to win this match. You go out there, the pressure's completely different, and he hasn't played his best tennis unless he's been down significantly behind in the scoreboard, actually. You know, we only saw it when he was 5-2 in the first set, similar score again in the second. When it's been neck and neck, he's not been able to play quite as freely.
Yeah. Backhand return by Murray. He's 30-love down here, but 2 sets to love up, 2 games to love up. Backhand is hit right into the postage stamp between sideline and baseline by Cerundolo. He's just suddenly played 2 world-class points. Hit it, but they feel very low percentage. He's just hit the living daylights out of a forehand, then he's gone for a backhand on the line where there's so little margin for error. And then Medvedev's doing all right at the moment. Last time I looked, he's a set to love ahead, 6-2. And second set, Stefan Kozlov is 2-1 up. Here's a serve down the middle from Cerundolo. Murray hits it back with the forehand in the middle and attacks behind it. Comes in, backhand off the top of the net by Cerundolo. Forehand polished off cross court by Murray.
And you feel like now it's really getting to the important stages of the match for Murray. This is when he just needs to stay so tough mentally. You know, the hard work hasn't been done. It's still to come. If you rest on your laurels, that's when you're at the most danger, I think.
Serve down the centre is chipped back by Murray, and now a backhand down the line, but Cerundolo attacks and wins the point, wins the game, so closes the gap.
Third set, 2 sets to love.
Murray certainly can't let up here. I mean, I think in years gone by, you'd probably see him in this sort of position and you'd just assume he's going to win. But at 35 against a player ranked higher who's, you know, more than 10 years younger than him, things can turn quickly, can't they? If you let him back in at all. Or
Absolutely, and as we're saying, Cerundolo's been playing his best tennis when he's been down on the scoreboard. So as you do start to near the end of the match and he starts to think, well, it's now or never, my back's against the ropes, I've got nothing to lose, he's going to loosen up, and that's when he's, as we say, causes a lot of damage, especially on that forehand side. So it's really for Andy to just keep solid with his level, stay strong mentally, and keep that focus each and every point. Not to give anything away to his opponent sloppy.
yeah. But so far, very much so good for Andy Murray, because this is a good opponent that he's up against, and 2 sets to love, 2 games to 1 for Murray. Now, let's have a little look at some of the other scores we've got. Bianca Andreescu has just gone onto the court on grandstand. She's playing Harmony Tan. You may remember she's the woman who beat Serena Williams at Wimbledon earlier this year. Andreescu, 3 years on from winning the title here, and it's been a tough time for her since then. Obviously, the sport interrupted, as so many things have been, by the pandemic, but Andreescu's really struggled with injury, with mental health, and she hasn't really been a contender at the Grand Slams since winning that US Open title in 2019, which I think at the time, you know, we would have thought, you know, this woman's going to be dominating, or at least part of the top 3 or 4 in the world for the next however many years. But we'll see if maybe the US Open is going to get her going again. Sebastian Korda, 1 set all against Facundo Bagnis, and JJ Wolf has just knocked out the 16th seed Roberto Bautista Agut, 6-4, 6-4, 6-4.
That's a very good win, because Bautista Agut has been playing well recently,
Yeah.
but so is JJ Wolf. Talking
Wolf,
of
who has a mullet.
he did.
Did
Mullet,
he?
Yeah,
He's got
mullet's
rid
gone.
of it.
Yeah,
Oh.
mullet's gone.
How disappointing.
He said he wanted to be known for his tennis and not for his mullet.
Quite right. First thing I say is he's got a mullet.
It was impressive.
Love 15.
Fair play, great win for him. Straight sets. Forehand netted by Murray. Love 15. 2-1 he is in games in this third set. 2 sets to love. He leads. And I mentioned he'll play either Millman or Nava if Murray can win this match, and they're at 1 set all. Davidovich Fokina has beaten Yoshihito Nishioka, which will be good news for Dan Evans if he comes anywhere near that part of the draw. I'm not sure where he is in the draw. He's lost 5 out of 5 against Nishioka, so I think he'll be delighted that he's out of the tournament.
He actually, we were looking actually. I did commentary on that match, and he doesn't actually have a great record, Dan, against left-handers. In terms of his overall record against left-handers, it doesn't look bad, but when you look at the top ranked sort of players ranked within the top 60, it's always been a struggle for him. I would assume it's that lefty heavy forehand cross court up onto the Evo single-handed backhand that makes him struggle with it.
15-all here. Murray hitting his backhand very firmly and securely and drawing an error from the forehand of Cerundolo. And I thought that was quite a good little test of Andy Murray there, because Cerundolo was hanging with him from the back of the court and trying to hit through him a little bit. Murray's just solid as a rock out there at the moment today.
Well, Cerundolo, again, just getting frustrated, wiping his brow with his towel, but slamming it down into the box. Just not happy the last 2 points have ended on unforced errors, really at a time that he needed to be solid. As you say, ask those questions of his opponent.
Kyle Edmund is out on court number 12 today against Casper Ruud, the 5th seed, and Ruud has a break point at 4-3 in the first set. 4 on the line by Murray here, and now he hit another one inside out of the back end of Cerundolo, who's hitting that shot down the centre now, but Murray changes the direction to the forehand, going diagonally with his own forehand, and eventually long goes Cerundolo. I mean, his backhand unforced error count, we don't get that stat, but it must be high.
And we said it right from the first set, didn't we, David? We knew that was going to be a tough game matchup for him, and that's such an important part of individual sport, not just tennis, but it's game matchups, as we're saying with Dan Evans, you know, Yoshita Nishioka. Dan's probably beaten players ranked far higher than him, but it's just that game matchup at times, and for Cerundolo today to play someone with a backhand as good as Murray's, it's caused him so much trouble.
Dan Evans, who spent a few days in the Hamptons, in a lovely place.
Lovely.
Ahead of this tournament. And I said, I reckon you could have a good tournament at the US Open. All you've got to do is avoid Nishioka. He said, yep. Here's a forehand down the line from Murray. Now a big inside-out forehand that he's got game points on. It's for 3-1 in the third set. 2 sets to love. He leads at the moment, does Murray. Forehand cross court, hit well. Drop shot into the net by Cerundolo. That was a bailout shot from Cerundolo. He looks very downbeat at the moment, does the Argentine, and that's a sight for sore eyes from an Andy Murray point of view.
It was a tired shot, that, wasn't it? It's almost like he didn't see any way out of the point. Didn't have enough energy to keep going, or maybe he knows at this point if he wants to win the match, you've got to conserve all the energy you can.
I do wonder how players cope psychologically when they're 2 sets to love down, a breakdown, and the thought has to be, well, if I do win this match, I've probably got to be here for another 3 hours.
Yeah, I think you just can't think of what's ahead of you other than, I mean, it's the tennis cliche, isn't it? 1 point at a time. But if you think any further ahead, especially in a 5-set match, it's just daunting.
Did you ever used to think ahead at all?
Yeah, everybody does.
Do you? Brilliant.
If you work with a sports psychologist, that's what they effectively try and teach you. That's the main point, is to stay in the present and not to think of what's happened or what's to come, but just to think, to stay in the moment.
Do you ever think about what you're going to do later? Sort of
when I
out.
officially retire?
Yeah.
Oh.
No, I mean, when you're in a match, I'll ask you that one in a minute as well. When you're in a match and you're leading a set and a break, do you ever think, oh, I wonder what I'll have for dinner tonight?
Sometimes you get a song stuck in your head. That's the most annoying thing, because you just sing the same sort of one line over and over. And is it called an earworm when it just gets stuck and it doesn't go away?
Okay.
But no, hopefully you're not thinking on court about dinner later, because that's definitely not good focus. Then I would definitely recommend a sports psychologist if you're not able to think about what you're trying to do on the court.
Maybe I should get one from a commentary. Not that I'm thinking about dinner later at the moment, you understand. But it does happen from time to time, especially when you're sitting inside the Arthur Ashe Stadium and you see somebody walk in, as Gigi was saying, with massive margarita pizzas, and you're thinking, oh, I mind a bit of that. So 2 sets to love for Murray. 3-1, 15-all. He's going to return with a forehand. Down the centre it goes. Now he'll hit that shot again. Backhand by Cerundolo, the one that keeps going wrong. This time he's got it over the net. Hitting it a bit more securely now is the Argentine. Backhand cross-court is missed this time by Murray. That's unusual.
I mean, you heard the frustration, the yell from Murray, because he had the space on the angle. Maybe just lifted his head up to have a look, therefore over-rotating through the ball, dragging it wide across court. Felt like that was half an opportunity though, didn't it?
So 2 sets to love, 3-1. And a backhand hit cross court by Murray. It's a two-handed hit cross court by Cerundolo. Now he's going to whip a forehand with lots of loft and topspin. And long it goes. And Murray's got himself back to 30 all here.
Just rushing him again there, Murray, taking the ball early, feet inside that baseline as we mentioned earlier. You don't then even need to necessarily hit the ball any harder. Your opponent's already had their time taken away because you've taken the ball earlier.
Go, Andy.
7-5, 6-3, 3-1. Murray trying to get another breaker serve on the board here, but he miscues his forehand return. It goes into the net, so 40-30 Cerundolo. In his support team, he has his agent Matt Gentry, who's been by his side for a long time now, many years. The 77 agency that they run together. Point for Cerundolo to narrow the gap here, but Murray's attacking again with a great forehand return. He's jumping on returns today, Murray, rushing, as Naomi was saying, Cerundolo at every opportunity. That seems to be paying off here.
He's almost been more successful on the return games than on his own service games at times, hasn't he, Murray? We saw that right from the very start of the match when he was broken and then broke straight back. Twice in a row, actually, at the start of the match. So much aggression and pressure.
Forehand clipped down the line by Cerundolo, drop shot Murray, in comes Cerundolo, forehand volley down the line by Murray, and a lovely little dink and bit of accuracy from Murray. He's so delicate, isn't he, with his hands at the net on that low forehand volley.
Well, he loves to play all those hand skills games in the service box, the games of touch, with all the guys, with his coaches. He used to play a lot with Delgado. He's got lots of experience up there, those cat and mouse points.
So, point here for Murray to take a 4-1 lead. Hits his backhand chip return, does a little pirouette, but a forehand cross court by Cerundolo, and even Murray, as he sort of turned his back on the play in order to swivel round and sprint down the other end of the court, couldn't get him in play to get the ball back.
You feel this is a must-win game for Cerundolo. He needs to stay within touching distance in this third set here, not only to see if he can ask a few questions of his opponent, but just for his own self-belief as well.
Service down the middle, bounces up high from Murray, who's really hitting his returns well today. Forehands and backhands, comes in, forehand volley, clean winner. Andy Murray's played seriously good tennis today. We're getting some of these low down camera angles on the shots that we're seeing today, which is showing just how well Andy Murray's seeing the ball on the return. He's middling these two-handed backhand returns.
He's always had one of the best returns, hasn't he? It's always been his thing. He and Djokovic kind of contesting for the title at both off return and backhand.
Point for Murray to take a double break here. 4-1 if he can get it. He hits his backhand return again. He middles it, but this time he hits the tape of the net. And now he's ranting his frustration. He's a perfectionist, isn't he? I mean,
he absolutely is. You can see why he's frustrated on that one, though. It was a breakpoint opportunity. He needs to convert it. The top players know opportunities are few and far between. You have to take them. Often the stats that are most important at the end of the match is the breakpoint conversion rates. And as you say, he had that one on the middle of his racket.
I think that's the thing. When Murray's playing well, he expects all of them to go in. Well, Cerundolo's forehand hasn't gone in. It's gone way out.
Advantage, Murray.
Cerundolo from Buenos Aires. And playing in the US Open for the first time. Hard to believe, really. He's got his ranking up to 27 in the world, and he's never even played the US Open main draw before. Shows how far he's come this year. Hasn't really happened for him, the Grand Slams this year. He's not won any matches at all, and he's not going to win this one the way he's going, because he's just whipped his forehand long. And now Murray, he looks like he's speaking aggressively in the direction of somebody, but he's just broken for 4-1. And I think it just shows how in the zone he is. He's so competitive, and he's rinsing every little drop of potential out of this match, and he's 2 sets and 4-1 up.
He is, and considering that first set went way over an hour, it's actually been a really business-like performance, which I think it needed to be. Maybe knowing that the cramp problems that he's got going on at the moment, maybe that's a big part of him now when he's stepping out onto court. He has to be business-like. He doesn't want to be out there spending longer than he needs to. That intensity has to be there each and every point, not to let his opponent back in. Maybe that's also another point of why he's been so aggressive, just to try and shorten up the rallies a little bit.
Yeah, makes sense. I think the senses are more heightened just generally at the moment because of all of that. I think that's exactly right. He knows he's got to get the job done. No faffing.
For me, he takes his losses so hard as well. I think because he can feel that the level is there, and it's so frustrating for him when he doesn't put it out on the match court, and really disheartening for him as well. Again, I did commentary on his match at Washington against Michael Ymer. Ymer played incredible, but he physically battled Murray, and I think that was really hard for him to take.
Quite jarring to watch that, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It were really tough conditions.
Because that's Murray's thing, isn't
exactly. it? Exactly. And whether that was just a bit of a hit to the ego as well, something that you go out and pride yourself on and take confidence in, and know that you can beat so many players as he is doing right now against Cerundolo.
Yeah.
For him to lose a match in that way, I think was really tough. But and you hear him in his press conferences afterwards, he's quite down on himself, isn't he? So, a win like this, and the way he's playing as well, there's no reason he can't win more rounds in this tournament if he goes on the way that he has done so far in this match.
Yeah, I mean, so far this has been an excellent performance from Andy Murray. He has been helped by Cerundolo, who's been poor, I've got to say. I mean, he's had a couple of bursts where he's played some decent shots, and he's had a run of games. But Cerundolo has been poor today, and Murray's been very good, and that's why we're sitting here looking at a scoreline of 7-5, 6-3, 4-1 for Andy Murray. I mean, fabulous situation he's got himself into here. Seven, 5, 6, 3, 4, 1, 15 love. Murray serves double fault. There have been a few of those today, but it does feel like, as you mentioned, Ivan Lendl pointed towards how he's going after this second serve. There's a positivity about the way he's hitting a double fault, for instance, or even
there's intent behind it.
Yeah, he's not just trying to roll it in. He's trying to keep the opponent at bay. Forehand hit down the line, and he comes in, Murray, and he wins the point. He's crowding Cerundolo here. It's such good tennis. It's assertive.
30-15.
And Murray will just hope to continue this excellent efficiency.
And he's always been so on it with his nutrition and hydration, Murray. As we mentioned, we heard him in that first set say to the chair umpire, can you make sure nobody throws away the bottles that I've been drinking, even though they're empty? I'm tracking how much liquids I'm taking on board. But he's done that for a while. He's often had markers on the bottles, of not just the water bottles, but the stuff with the hydration fluids in. Just trying to know exactly how much he needs to be drinking each and every match. So it's almost a surprise that was even in question as to one of the reasons behind the cramps that he's been suffering with.
Forehand drop shot, Cerundolo. In comes Murray, chips his back on the line. Lob by Cerundolo is good. Just about dinked back and then swatted away by Cerundolo. I mean, in the end, that's a brilliant point from Cerundolo. Drop shot lob combination followed up by a massive forehand, but it all feels a little bit, oh, I've had enough of this.
Well, I'm just watching Andy here as well. I don't know if it was just such an awkward position for the lob or if his legs are starting to fatigue, but he looked a little bit of a limp as he walked away from this final shot. But again, Cerundolo has made him cover some serious court in this match.
Service out wide from Murray is a good one. It's 30-all here. Forehand driven down the line by him. Another lob lifted by Cerundolo. They'll be smashed by Murray to get to 40-30.
That's exactly the type of serve he needs if he is starting to feel it physically out there, Andy. Massive first serve out wide. You've got the big open court to cause damage with. He chose to go for the drive volley instead of letting it bounce. Again, keeping to being aggressive.
Point for 5-1. Serve down the centre by Murray. Backhand batted cross court by him now. Then a chip down the centre. Good depth. Everything feels confidently struck by Andy Murray at the moment as he hits his backhand cross court. Two-hander cross court by Cerundolo. Point here for 5-1 for Murray. Off the top of the net goes his backhand and a forehand driven down the line. And what long it goes by Cerundolo. And it's 5-1.
Murray leads 5-1, third set.
So 2 sets to love up, 5-1.
He's going to want to get it done and dusted here, Murray. Still, to me, looks like he's struggling a little bit physically. He's kind of wincing. Again, standing back in the shade as long as he can at the back of the court before stepping up to return.
Forehand return down by Murray. He'll just want to finish it right here. He won't want to have to serve it out because that's actually where the problems have come, haven't they? In the first 2 sets, he led 5-2 and it was suddenly 5-all. He led 5-love in the second set. Suddenly it was 5-3. But, well, I think there's probably a difference in the belief level of Cerundolo generally in terms of his belief that he can get back into this now. Forehand crashed cross court by Cerundolo. When he lines one up and lets his arm go, he really can hit the ball hard, but there's a feeling of, I don't care too much now. I'm just going to hit this thing as hard as I possibly can because it's going to feel good.
And he hasn't been allowed to use it, has he? Andy's just kept it away from that forehand side, especially hasn't given him time on it.
Service out wide from the forehand from Murray, whipped forehand into the net by Cerundolo. Backhand return down the centre by Murray, trying to set up match point here if he can. Lifts a lob, it's going into the rafters, lands on the baseline, smashed by Cerundolo. It goes in a banana shape as he puts side spin on it, comes in behind a backhand and now volleys away to Cerundolo and gets himself back to 30-all. And Murray's frustrated with himself that he didn't win that.
Well, he did all the hard work, Murray, at that fantastic lob, defensive lob, as you say, almost going as high as the roof here on Louis Armstrong. But how good has Cerundolo been up at the net as well? We talk about him as a clay quarter, don't we? But he's so solid up at the net. Won massive amount of points up there today. He closes so well.
Service out one onto the Murray forehand, drives it back cross court. In comes Cerundolo and Murray nets his backhand chip. He looks so nonplussed when he doesn't win a point, Andy Murray. I'd love to know what Ivan Lendl thinks when he's sitting there. We're seeing a picture of him at the moment. I mean, his expression doesn't change throughout an entire match. Serve down the centre by Cerundolo. Forehand return to the net by Murray. It's 5-2.
I think he's very practical practical and logical when he's sat there. I think he's constantly racking his brains, looking at, as he said to me, he looks at his phone, checks the stats throughout the match. You know, he's constantly brain whirring away, thinking of, well, I suppose now as well, what can you communicate to your player if and so you need to. He said they've had the conversation with Andy, if Andy wants throughout the match to ask any questions up towards the box, you know, if he feels the box haven't communicated it down to him, but there's something he wants to ask, you know, why am I missing my first serves here, or I feel like I'm doing this off the forehand, or so I think that's why they work well as well together, because that emotion of when, you know, a lot of coaches understandably would find difficult with somebody being so passionate and, you know, raising their voice towards their box, and I don't think it bothers Ivan. I think he's almost just listening to what Andy's actually saying to him and then trying to think of ways to communicate the answers to him now that it's allowed. But Cerundolo just managing to ask Andy one final question here. Can you serve it out? We've seen in each of the two first sets him ask him this question, and he hasn't been able to serve it out first time of asking.
Wonder whether that'll be on Andy Murray's mind at all. Might even steal his mind to be that much more determined. Maybe he'll make a couple of tweaks in terms of how he goes about it because of those failures to serve it out in the first two sets. But anyway, I mean, things are going pretty swimmingly for Andy Murray generally as he comes out. Crowd have enjoyed this. The 2012 champion in front of them, trying to get to the second round in 2022. 7-5, 6-3, 5-2 for Andy Murray. BBC Sounds here at the US Open. 5 Sports Extra. As Andy Murray serves down the centre onto the backhand into the body of Cerundolo, then a forehand cross court that's miscued by Murray long. Served by Murray down the centre, forehand hit down the middle by Cerundolo, who's trying to get himself back into this set now as he's going after these big forehands. He's got love 15, now he's got love 30 on Murray's serve. Murray's sliced it back and into the net. Naomi, what's going wrong?
It's a combination of the two, and it's chicken and egg. I don't know if Cerundolo steps up how hard he's hitting the ball, or if Andy just backs off ever so slightly and becomes a little bit more passive, which in turn allows Cerundolo to start hitting the ball that bit more. But either way, it's what we've seen again each and every time Andy's had the opportunity to serve the set out, first time of asking.
Murray 2 sets the love up, 5-2, but love 30. Hits his serve out wide into the forehand and crashes a forehand in the middle. Still going after that shot, Lendl style, and it pays off for him as Cerundolo goes into the net with his forehand. That's a big point for Murray, and won in a fashion that he would really want it to be won in.
And it's the turn of Murray now to just stay within touching distance of his opponent in this game. I think statistically you're far more likely to hold even when you go down when it's on your own serve, because you've got that advantage, especially if you can make the first serve, something Andy's hopefully going to be able to do in this game. Keep that first serve percentage up high, dictate the rallies.
Here is a ball lofted up into the air that Murray's punished.
And that's the exact kind of serve that I was just talking about. Gorgeous slice down the tee there on the ad side. So much slice, curling away from his opponent, almost an ace. And just an easy put away shot for the second ball.
Here's a serve out wide from Murray and a forehand down the line from him. Trying to set up match point here is Andy Murray as he moves to his right, hits a forehand cross court. Cerundolo crashes a forehand cross court. Murray scoops it back, but it's gone long. Break back point for Cerundolo.
30-40.
Cerundolo's eyes widening. The cap is back to front once more as he leans forward, has a break back point, trying to edge a little closer. Murray has the insurance break if he doesn't hold on this time, but he could really do without all this. 7-5, 6-3, 5-2, 30-40. Forehand returns Cerundolo. Backhand cross court. Murray long. Broken back. Again.
Murray leads 5 games to 3. Third set.
They both look tired to me right now. I don't think the second...
Tired?
Yeah, I don't think the second wind has quite kicked in. You can just see the body language of Cerundolo there. He's stood using the towel. Change at the back of the court, waiting for the balls to be thrown down his end. It's now his serve, but he's just kind of leaning over a little bit. He's not trying to send a message down the other end that, you know, I'm full of energy here, I'm positive.
Yeah. 6-2, 6-4 now for Daniil Medvedev. Kyle Edmund is a set down against Casper Ruud, 6-3. 2-1 Edmund on serve in the second set. Serve by Cerundolo down the centre. He's 5-3 down, playing a backhand volley into the net. Murray will be hoping to see if he can break here and avoid having to have this whole business of serving out again. 3 more points to go.
And as we said before, he's almost been more successful on his return games, hasn't he, tonight, Murray? Not in terms of win-loss percentages, but certainly at high-pressure moments.
Love 15 rather on Cerundolo's serve. He whips his forehand cross court. Murray parries it cross court with underspin, and out goes Cerundolo with a poor forehand. Shakes his head in disdain, and suddenly Murray edging ever closer. Love 30 on the Argentine serve here now. 5 Sports Extra from the BBC at the US Open. We're going to be joining the 100 at Trent Bridge following this match. Here's Cerundolo with a serve down the middle that misses. Shadow just starting to creep across this Louis Armstrong court now, just in the tram lines, but Murray will hope to get over the line before that becomes a factor. Hits his big backhand on the centre, trying to set up match point. Murray crash court backhand once more. Now we'll go for that shot again down the line, and he wins the point. Murray. Cerundolo's forehand limply into the net. Listen to this. US Open crowds remember Andy Murray from 10 years ago, the champion in 2012. Here he is, aged 35 in 2022, with match point to get into the second round. Hits his backhand down the centre. Murray, whipped forehand winner by Cerundolo, keeps him alive for 1 more point in this year's US Open. Still 15-40 though. Match point for Andy Murray for a second time to reach round 2. He watches another mighty serve go down the centre. 1 more match point left.
He really does just loosen up, doesn't he, when he's down in the scoreline, Cerundolo. See if the crowd can get behind Murray to push him across the finish line.
Yep, the US Open crowd desperate for Andy Murray to get into round 2. He has match point, and now he has a second serve to look at. He beat Novak Djokovic in the final 10 years ago, Murray. Here he is on the brink of the second round in 2022. Aged 35 years of age, Andy Murray. He's got a metal hip, but here he is, still fighting tooth and nail to get wins at the Grand Slam tournaments. Match point for Murray to reach round 2. Backhand return down the centre is a good one. Now he hits his forehand cross court. Cerundolo goes down the line with his forehand. Murray scoops it back, chips it onto the baseline. Now he'll hit the two-handed backhand cross court. Throws his body into the ball. A shanked forehand is out by Cerundolo. A roar from Andy Murray, who's into the second round of the US Open 10 years after winning this title. And it is the first straight sets victory for Andy Murray at a Grand Slam tournament for more than 5 years. An extended chat between Andy Murray and Cerundolo. I think Murray was whispering in his ear to say, that was good sportsmanship from you earlier in this match to give me a point when it was a double bounce. And a punch of the air from Murray. And there are Scottish saltires and Union Jacks flying inside the Louis Armstrong Arena. 7-5, 6-3, 6-3. Naomi Brodie, that was good.
That was a brilliant performance, wasn't it, from Andy Murray from start to finish. It was physical battle. It really tested what we've been hearing him speak about. He struggles with those cramps recently. He had several shirt changes, a full kit change in there. We had ice towels, gel packs, drinks being drank at the back of the court between points, and he's got himself through. That wasn't an easy match, and he's looking in good form. He's very aggressive.
Yeah, he really did look in good form. A nice ovation for Cerundolo as he departs the scene. He'll be disappointed today, but Andy Murray's into the second round of the US Open. His opponent is either going to be Emilio Nava of the United States or John Millman. It's 2-1 for Nava. That one looks like it's going to be a bit of an epic. 2 hours and 48 minutes, couple of tie breaks already in that match, but Murray, we know, is going to be in the second round. How do you like his chances based on what you've seen so far, Naomi, of him having a bit of a run here?
I definitely do, especially because he's taken the seed out there in the first round. 24th seed Cerundolo. He now technically should take that seeded advantage draw, shouldn't he? But most importantly, I just think he looks good. As we were saying, there's almost a different level of intensity, of positivity about him, both in his mentality but also in the way he's playing, stepping up inside that baseline so often in the match. So yeah, I think it's exciting for Andy going into his next round.
Yeah, sure is. Naomi, it's been lovely to have you with us, and we're going to have lots more tennis for you over the next couple of weeks. We're going to be back at 9 o'clock on 5 Live. We're also going to have the Serena Williams match from midnight, but for now we're going to go to cricket and the 100 at Trent Bridge.